We're proud to bring you this live presentation on Racer TV of the 50th anniversary of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. 50 years of world premier off-road racing. 50 years of battling the gnarliest woods racing on the planet. It's time to start a new chapter. The next 50 years starts now.
Monterey, Tennessee for the Specialized Old Gray GNCC round number 5. It has been a wild season. We have seen the XC2 in the points lead, but right now the man in the lead is out of the XC1. He's coming off his first win of the season, and that is Ben Kelly. Can he go back to back here today? It all starts right now on RacerTV.com. Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Craig DeLong, Johnny Gerard, mano y mano.
I think if Johnny can maybe send it around the outside like he's trying to do there.
Look at that. That is a full XC1.
Is this a NASCAR race?
Absolutely a sensational. When things get tough, look out for Jordan Ashburn.
Racing dirt bikes, it's a lifestyle. It's something where every single choice you make sets you on the path to how you're going to succeed or perform. You live this every second of the day.
Stu hauling the mail.
Stu is one of the most gritty riders out there.
There is Gerard. Donnie Gerard, he has been stellar. Most wins on the season out of anybody.
Johnny Gerard, the champion!
Nick DeFeo also has a 50-some-odd second advantage.
Are you kidding me? T-Rex, the 246. Nick DeFeo, you're going down in the GNCC history books, man.
I just like grabbing my dirt bike. Johnny out front, Caleb pushing as hard as he can.
This is everything they have.
That was a battle.
That was a hell of a ride by both of those men. Like he's got a cougar on the back of the bike.
Stu Baylor taking the inaugural Talladega GNCC win.
3 hours is a long time. 3 hours of racing is gnarly.
I know I can show up and I know I can win on any given week.
Monterey, Tennessee, we are back for the Specialized Old Gray GNCC. Johnny, we've been here one time. We talked about this yesterday. What a difference a year makes. This place absolutely a mutter last year. This year, it's different. They rolled out the red carpet. We're making up for lost time. We have ourselves a beautiful, beautiful facility, beautiful race day, and I think we're in store for a really good race.
Actually, a lot of people saying this year the track rougher because of having raced, kind of chewing off that top layer of dirt, and then having a year of after it's pushed back, kind of the weather erodes things. I can tell you, I went out there and checked it out myself. A lot of rocks that we didn't see last year, so I think it's going to be a challenging course for these guys here today, and it's going to provide some wheel-to-wheel action and a lot of bar banging.
All right, forget what I said. We're rolling up the red carpet. Get rid of it. We've got a tough one. Tough one. We go back to Coker. I mean, this was one, Johnny, for the ages. Obviously, Ben Kelly with the win. The fight he had there with Liam Draper throughout. This is one we knew when the checkered flag flew. These guys were going to be gassed. They were going to be just all the air they can get, all the hydration, IVs, whatever it takes. They left it all out on the track.
It's been a long time since we've seen riders that depleted at the finish line. Something we normally would see in Florida, if we have like a triple-digit temperature race. But Cam Coker, sneaky rough, sneaky tough, and it took a toll on the competition 2 weeks ago. But reigning supreme.
Yep.
King Kelly, Ben Kelly coming through. First one in a while for that young man, doing it in pretty commanding fashion. Worked his way through the pack, got to lead with a torrid battle with Liam Draper, all the way really down to the final miles where he was finally able to just kind of get a little bit of a gap. We saw Liam, the fatigue starting to get to him, but still able to get across the line and hold off the charging Grant Davis behind them for that third place overall. Second place overall for Liam. Best race of the season for him so far. And really, honestly, until the final miles, was just in it wheel-to-wheel with Ben Kelly for the win.
It was a heck of a race to watch from the Racer TV booth. And speaking of Ben Kelly, hey, this season been very reminiscent to what we saw out of his teammate, Johnny Gerard, last year. Very reminiscent of his first championship. Is it going to happen again this year? We had a chance to catch up with Ben Kelly.
Yeah, I've been the most consistent, I guess. Still had some up and down races, but it's wild. The XC2 guys are right there in the mix with XC1, and some of the heavy contenders and like the guys I would call championship guys in XC1 have had some bad rounds and some bad luck, so they're pretty far back there. But Yeah, still early in the season. Just going to keep doing my thing and try to win some more races and just always be on the podium.
Well, great to hear from Ben Kelly, get his perspective on last race and really just this what has been crazy season. Another guy, we talked about him a little bit, Liam Draper. We go back to last year. He jumps into the XC1 ranks, takes him by storm. Just a perfect fit for the bike, and it became a podium regular. We expected to see it, and finally, I think not yesterday, but last race, we saw that Liam Draper again, the guy that we know can be contending for podiums and perhaps even wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Liam came out at the end of 2024, 4 podiums in 4 attempts in the XC1 class. Like you said, just taking the class by storm. A lot of people, a lot of hype coming into the season. Is he a championship contender right off the rip? Is he going to win races? In the first 3 rounds, just not what Liam Draper was looking for. But he comes out at round 4 and firing on all cylinders. Yep. Got to the front right away, pulled a gap, and looked like he was going to ride away with it had it not been for that pesky Ben Kelly tracking him down. But when it came right down to it, still ending up in that P2 overall, and a way for him to get some momentum going here in 2025.
We had a chance to catch up with Liam prior to today's race.
Yeah, it's good. I'm excited, learning a lot, just how these guys work. It's definitely a lot different than XC2. They pace themselves a little more, I think, and then figure the track out. And then once that fuel stuff, I feel like comes, it's a race from there, really. And I think that's why you see the XC2 guys really get to us. Although, the XC1 field's big, there's a lot of us. So it's a lot easier for them to get to us. But no, it's good. I'm enjoying it. I really like the 450 a lot more than the 250. You don't have to ride it as hard.
Well, Johnny, good to get Liam's perspective on everything. And, man, as we take a look at the points race, this has been a strange season. We've had wild seasons, and what's interesting, we mentioned this briefly. We had, 6 winners in 6 rounds a couple of years ago, something like that to start the year. Well, this year has been really just as crazy, but you throw the XC2 into the mix, Johnny. Finally, someone out of the XC1 with the points lead. That man has been Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. And starting off the season with the win, Nick DeFeo, first XC2 points leader we had ever, and then it's been Grant Davis since then. So Grant Davis controlling the overall points lead through rounds 2 and 3, and then finally after round 4, Ben Kelly able to wrestle that away, but still sitting there in the number 2 spot. It is still Grant Davis from that XC2 class, sitting second in points, and then no surprise, anytime it seems like you talk about Grant Davis, just behind him you have to talk about Angus Reardon, and he's sitting there in that 3rd place points in the overall. So it's been a very impressive season for him as well, finishing on the podium again last race, finishing in, I believe, the 5th place overall spot, and just still continuing to tick away points and getting himself closer and keeping himself in the mix, not only for a top 3, but a championship contender.
Boy, we're in store for a great race here today, Johnny, and enough of us bench racing. We want to see what the riders are going to face. It's rough, rocky, maybe we don't have the red carpet rolled out. We're going to find out for sure as we throw it to Jackson Burrell, who stands by with our trail boss Jared Bolton for a Yamaha track description.
All right, thanks, guys. We're down here at the barn with our trail boss, Jared Bolton. Jared, what can we expect here this weekend at the Old Gray?
I'll tell you can expect some beautiful technical trail. Old Gray was new last year. It's still really on the type. Big rocks, technical trail. Most places we go, we aim for 10 or 12 miles. Only about a little over 9 here. So a shorter track, but that's all they're going to want out of the rocks, the roots, the hills, all the good technical Tennessee stuff there.
All right, there you go, guys. A glimpse of the track, and back up to you.
All right, thank you, Jackson and Jared, for that Yamaha Racing track description, giving us a little insight into what these guys are going to be facing out here today on a very tough race course. We're going to get back with all of the action, but first we're going to let our man Mikey Waynes go down, do some 10-second calls, get this race underway. We're going to bring you every minute of it live here on Racer TV right after this.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? Don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Bogging off the bottom. Let's take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a man. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. Want to welcome everybody watching at home on RacerTV.com. Just as you tune in, we are about ready to set things off here with our pro rider introduction. So, as we say, without further ado, I still don't know what that word means. Your starting row. Oh, 1 second. Hold for 1 second. Ben Kelly getting hair and makeup done. I understand. It's all good, baby. We got you. All right, without further ado, folks, rolling to the line in accordance to points coming into today, the 530 out of Connecticut, one of the New England Rippers on the FMF Factory Racing KTM, Ben Kelly. Up next, the number 8 out of North Carolina, riding aboard the Phoenix Racing Honda, Mike Wachowski. Up next, the 557 out of Boonville, North Carolina, riding aboard the Am Pro Yamaha, Caleb Russell. Up next, the 514 out of Hodges, South Carolina, aboard the Rocky Mountain Red Bear Racing Team Green Kawasaki, Stu Baylor. Up next, coming off his best finish of the 2025 season, the 198 aboard the Am Pro Yamaha, Liam Draper. Up next, the 342 out of Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, riding aboard the Rockstar Energy Factory Racing Husqvarna, Craig DeLong. Up next, the 178, a rider out of Australia on the Palmer Motorsports and On the Pipe podcast backed Husqvarna, Lyndon Snodgrass. Up next, the number 7 out of Denver, North Carolina, aboard the Liqui-Moly Factory Racing Beta, Josh Strang. Up next, the 212 out of Duval, Washington, on the Enduro Engineering back Triumph, the rough and rowdy Ricky Russell. Up next, the 347 out of Jefferson, Georgia, riding aboard the Am-Pro Yamaha. Say hello to Evan Smith. Up next, the 707 out of Parkersburg, West by God, Virginia, on the Jason Liscomb Builders and M2R suspension-backed Yamaha, Jason Liscomb. Up next, Tennessee's own, the number 3 out of Livingston, Tennessee, on a Flat Rock Motor Club Factory Racing Gas, Jordan Ashburn. And now the 336 out of Elkin, North Carolina, on a Icon Services JDP and Moose Off-Road backed Honda, Ryder Lafferty. And last but certainly not least, we welcome back to GNCC the 314 out of South Carolina aboard the Rocky Mountain Red Bear Racing Team Green Kawasaki, the Grizzly Grant Baylor. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your starting row for the XC1 Pro class here at the Specialized Old Gray GNCC. And as our pro riders begin to take their spots on the starting line for the XC1 Pro class, DJ Judd exits the mobile entertainment activation transport, jumps into the Yamaha R-Max 1000, and this is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. And if I'm not mistaken, Judd may be making his exit out there where everybody entered the track. A lot of e-bikes there. Judd may need your help moving some things. I think that's where he's going. Maybe not. He's sick. Oh, sorry. All right, never mind. Judd's okay. He got a thumbs up. Now all attention will go down into turn number 1, where the maestro Ricky Towery will take the reins of this race. And we go as Ricky goes. A reminder to our spectators out here, you got to be back behind that white stringer line. Everybody looks good. But if you're not, please do so. Ricky steps out onto the track, takes a big, deep breath, and he lets our riders know 1 minute. 1 minute until we are ready to go. Specialized Old Gray GNCC Racing. As Ricky now steps back, he will look down at his watch to keep an eye on the time. And there it is, folks. Blue flag waves, blue flag waves. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are just about ready to roll now. And I gotta ask you, Monterey, Tennessee, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? Oh, that's pretty good, but 50 years of racing GNCC, you gotta get loud and proud. I'm gonna ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and we're off. Mike Wachowski up the inside. Landers KTM Whole Shot Award up for grabs. It's going to be Jordan Ashburn on the number 3 Factory Gas, stealing away the Landers KTM Whole Shot. And boy, oh boy, is this going to be a long day for the XC1 Pro class. As Jordan Ashburn, the home state man coming off an injury, leading this one early. He did so well here last year. How is this one going to play out? Will it be a storybook day for Ashburn? We reset the deck with the XC2 250 Pro class. Another Whole Shot Award up for grabs, courtesy of Landers, KTM, Angus Reardon, Zachary Davidson, Josh Toth, Toby Cleveland, Jason Tino, Brody Johnson, T-Rex, Nick DeFeo, Hunter Bush, Kenneth Held, Michael DeLosa, Leighton Smelt, 10 seconds, Dakota DeVore, Jack Walker, Grant Davis, and Cody Barnes. Angus Reardon in the fight out in front, goes a little bit wide. Oh, that was the 719 of Jack Walker from my eyes. That looked like Jack Walker on the beta out of Morrisonville, Illinois. Grabbing that whole shot and early lead as we kick up the dust and reset with the XC3. 10 seconds. XC3 125 Pro-Am. Low Jack Cycle Sales whole shot award up for grabs. James Simpson, they call him Dirt Bike Jesus, by the way. Tyler Shields, Isaiah Brown, Rayleigh Messer, James Jenkins. No doubt about that one. That was the 337 on cue of James Jenkins. Huck Jenkins out there with Jason Crawford and Jonathan Johnson. And here we go. 258. 10 seconds. Van Adams, Colton Shields, Cooper Jones, Ryan Piper, Gavin Simon, Chase Landers, Collier Martinez, Will Steven Piper, Caleb Baltimore, Trevor Goetz, Lane Whitmer, Trevor Maley, Hunter Smith, and Joe Cunningham. That's going to be the 220 of Cooper Jones out of Lawton, Pennsylvania. Grabbing that whole shot and early lead. Open A coming up next. 10 seconds. Samuel Evans, Kitten Coleman, Kiefer Galliano, TJ Brown, Dylan T. De La Cruz, Trevor Hewlin, Griffin Kerr, Mac Reimer, Corey Fletcher, Daniel Ryan, Hunter Mays, Sean Myers, Brian, and 036. That is going to be Samuel Evans out of West Virginia on that JDP backtride. Tough break right there for the, looked like 337. Has some time to make up early. 4-stroke A lights. Waiting on that dust to settle. Here we go. 10 seconds. Joshua Connor, Logan Pellegrini, Brady Beerbaum, Ryan Amancio, Bryce Woodrum, Braden Baisley, Tucker Kenry, Rivers Morris, Ty Atkinson, Maxon Hickman, Luke Armour, Lane Smith, Brody Amos, Caleb Wood, Wade Tucker, Bodie Wallner. 4-1-2 on the whole shot. That is Brody Amos out of Scottsburg, Indiana on that Moose Off-Road and Team Dunlop back Husky. Grabbing that whole shot and early lead as we reset the deck with the Vet A 30+. Robbie Norwood, Michael Jarosco, Colby Rollison, 10 seconds. Scott Brandon, Cody Wallace, Brock McCoy, Dakota Durand, Thad Creasy, Josh Cito, Danny Halt, Matt Pope, Anthony Burbick, Gregory Funk. Who's got the funk? Gregory's got the funk, baby. Jeff Werner, Matt Modick, and Shane O'Banion. 837 on the whole shot. That was on cue. That's Shane O'Banion out of Bowling Green, Kentucky on that XC gear backtride. Been a minute since we've had a duster. Here for it. Little different story in the woods. 10 seconds. 150A. Michael Meyer, Lucas Rubenstein, Colby Goodman, Davin Scheich, Luke Newton, Nolan Scheffler, Ryder Segedy, Cade Probst, Easton Uplinger, Joe Schreiber, and Braden Hashman. Around the first turn we go in the 4-3-3. Or maybe it's 4-4-3. I believe that might have been Cade Stats. Grabbing that one right there. Junior A, 25+. 10 seconds. Bang, and we're off. 2-2-2 out in front. As they come around the front. Oh! One rider goes down. Fist in the air. I think that was a 7-2-9, maybe Peyton Harden right there. And Travis Hardcastle, a rider that went down, going to have some time to make up. Senior A, 40+. Ready to roll in 10 seconds. Frank Messina, Pete Petrucci, Fernando Pino, Joe Marsh, Miquez Gomez, Joshua Wyatt, Misleno Batista, Sean Jackson, Adam Clark, and Darren Darmos. Round the first turn we go. Little dab right there for the 311. It's a 094 on the helmet. That is Pete Petrucci out of Middletown, Connecticut. Grabbing the whole shot and early lead. 250B coming up next. Devin Moore, Lennox Riley. 10 seconds. Austin Langworthy, Ryan Sweat, Brandon Bailey, Mason Turner, Brandon Slotzer, Landon Phillips, Luke Muter, Oliver Rack, Jackson Rossi, Michael Sturrock, Dylan McDonald, Samuel Tessner, Colby Tucker, Gabriel Davis, Philip Likens, Brandon Billing, Ryan Kerr grabbing a whole shot way on the outside. Ooh, that was close, but he got it. That was Colby Tucker, the 430. out of Lebanon, Kentucky. Grabbing that whole shot, an early lead right there. Blue flag waves, we reset. Open B coming up next. 10 seconds. Nate Garrison, Cody Harding, Samuel Oster, Ty Ely, Blake Freiberger, Trevor Lemaster, Keegan Storms, Mark Cole, Dylan Fleming, Davey Souza, Colton Painter, Jamison Bulliard, Luke Thurfield, and Logan Reniger. Oh, get a little slideways, courtesy Zach Heron. Stole one out of the Heron book right there. That was the 902, though. Logan Reniger out of Florida. Grabbing that whole shot, an early lead as we reset with a 4-stroke B lights. Little pile up right there. Everybody's good. Back up on 2 wheels. Got her rocking and rolling. Here we go. 10 seconds. 4-stroke B lights. Devin Starnes, Joseph Sheelot, Justin Young, Carlo Cleary, Maddox Moretz, Colin Eberhardt, Ryan Glassmeyer, Matt Gray, Owen James, Kid Norris, Preston Horton, Cameron Dodge, Braxton Vick, and Spencer Knight. Oh, that's going to be the 3-3-4. That is Carlo Cleary out of Pennsylvania on that mobile Fleet Wash and Podium Works back gas. Grabbing that whole shot and early lead as the dust settles, and we reset with a 150B. Wait on Ricky Towry's signal. Had a couple riders get tangled up, sorting it out. Here we go. 10 seconds. Nico Pursuti, Levi Wilkins, Mason Zoll, Charlie Simpson, Julian Loy, and Hayden Newsouth. '87 out front. That's a number on the machine. Let's see what the helmet sticker says. Little checkup from the neck up. Another one. And that was the, maybe 439, I think. Might have been Levi Wilkins right there. Grabbing that whole shot, an early lead. Senior B, 40 plus. 10 seconds. Brandon Black, Aaron McAfee, Nathan Welch, Joshua Carey, Jonathan Casey, Chris Hart, Jeremy Nance, Gregory Davidson, and Igor Sares. 3-1-3 out in front. That's a number on the machine. Oh, little dab right there. Oh, the inside line pays off for the 5.90 of Jeremy Nance out of Amherst, Ohio, on that Scott and Factory Connection back ride. Grabbing a whole shot and early lead as the dust settles. And here we go. Junior B, 25 plus. 10 seconds. Cole Johnson, Hunter Pete Purdue, Devin Boatkin, Hunter Hall, Jeremy Johnson, Sean Cochran, Tyler Daniels, Judson Bogus, Dylan Kinsell, Jaden Schlegel, Austin Belowski, Devin Coleman, Zach Weaver, Walker Hashman, Billy Saliga, and Alex Stoner. 3-5-8 on the whole shot. That's going to be Cole Johnson out of Livingston, Tennessee, aboard the Yamaha with the whole shot and early lead. Vet B, 30 plus. 10 seconds. Ricky Stanley, Richard Moore, Daniel Zortman, Colby Terry, Justin Evans, Jonathan Bottomy, Marcus Slade, Kenton Schatzer, Devin Hall, Benjamin Lawton, Tommy Myers, William Schumacher, Lou Bianconi, Joseph Ward, Nick Labey, Cody Carson, Matthew Carter. A fist in the air with some hot sauce. That was the 4-3-1 of Tommy Myers out of Loveland, Ohio. Doing it with style. I hope that starting line's good. Your guys' vision must be better than mine. Maybe we wait till the dust clears next time, folks. Be safe. All right, I think we are good. We're going to take a short break, get in a word from our sponsors. Jordan Ashburn grabbing that Landers KTM Whole Shot Award. How is it all going to play out? We'll be right back here in just a moment. This is the Specialized Old Gray GNCC.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda Tires. Delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda Tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
born of family values and a homegrown work ethic. Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 50th Annual Progressive Insurance Grand National Cross Country Racing Series. This is the 2025 Specialized Old Grade GNCC, round number 5 of the 2025 series. My name is Jackson Burrell, and I'm going to be alongside Zach Herron to bring you today's action along with Johnny G and, of course, Mikey Waynes. Zach, it's good to be back here in Monterey.
Man, it is fantastic. The second year of racing here in Monterey, Tennessee, and we already heard yesterday things are just getting better and better with the years passing through. And, man, we've got a great race in store over the next 3 hours. A little better weather conditions than we had last year, maybe even a little better than yesterday as well. A little bit warmer. I know we're fans of that, but it is certainly going to be some great racing. Not sure how things are going to finish up, but let's show you guys how things got started with our Bike Pro Start, the Specialized Start recap, and going to kick things off with our XC1 Pro class. A little bit shorter of a start straight here at the Old Grade GNCC than some of our other stops. And look at this, a dogfight headed into turn 1. It was Mike Wachowski leading them in, but look at it. Back to racing, and Jordan Ashburn on that Flat Rock gas machine, going to be credited with your XC1 Pro hole shot. Some shuffling around. Welcome back to GNCC, the Grizzly. Grant Baylor, he's up inside the top 5. Make that the top 4. Make that the top 3. Moving into that third place spot as they headed into the woods, battling with older brother Stu and Caleb Russell just behind them. An XC2 250 Pro Start. Once again, they funnel to the inside. A good start from Gus Reardon, but he goes just a little bit wide. How about that? Jack Walker walking his way into a hole shot award. And Grant Davis on the number 1, going to sneak around the inside and give him a fight for the lead early. I believe that's Cody Barnes just behind him. Gus Reardon making some moves around the outside as well. Our FMF XC3 125 Pro-Am class, it was all the Jenkins brothers up the inside, and no doubt about it, playing the fiddle and grabbing a hole shot. James Jenkins gets the job done. No question about it. No fighting in this XC3 class either. He got that hole shot and said, boys, I'll see you at the podium. So things starting off strong. A little bit of dust flying here in the start section as well as some of our open field sections. But, man, it is a beautiful race course. Plenty of moisture in the woods as we take a look now at our Yamaha Racing track map. Now not only one but maybe even 2 riders or 2 announcers in here able to check out the track. We've got Johnny G, our resident expert, and then Jackie Legs able to get out there on the Blue Crew machine and check this thing out.
Yeah, man, I was able to go out on Friday, but this course is looking a lot different here on Sunday than what we saw on Friday. Johnny, what have you been seeing out there?
Yeah, absolutely. Got an opportunity to check the track out on Thursday, and then was again out there on Friday doing some pedaling. Yesterday during the morning race, and a little bit when I stepped out of the booth during the afternoon. And I got to tell you, Jackson, this track, it's you don't want to say it's coming apart, but let's call it developing. A lot of rocks coming up out of the ground, the moisture coming up from all the rain that we had over the period of the days leading in. Good moisture in the ground, making for good dirt, but when it gets pushed away, what you've got is you've just got this rock underneath that is just almost impossible for these tires to get any grip on. There's a lot of slipping and sliding. You can see just how kind of normally we see these guys kind of feet on the pegs and just on the gas driving forward. You see a lot of dabbing. You see a lot of side-to-side motion. The bike's almost looking nervous. The rider's looking very uneasy. Just a very unsure grip on this Old Gray facility right now, and I think it's going to lead to, you can see right there, I mean, where it looks like there's good dirt, where it looks like there's grip, it is just very unpredictable, and I think it's going to lead to some very exciting racing action. But what we do see is the big number 3 of Jordan Ashburn out front, looking like some other riders in that far right line. I believe one of the, that looked like it might have been the 8 of Witkowski there. Then we've got Grant Baylor on the 314 machine, Caleb Russell on the 557, Josh Strang up in there, and we can just see some blurs over there. And now we see Ben Kelly coming through. Think there was one rider who started early. Don't know if we caught who that is yet, but I think there may possibly be a penalty assessed. Here comes Ryder Lafferty on that 336. And guys, look at this. Grant Davis on the number 1 machine already up. Guys, we don't need a stopwatch for that one. Grant Davis is your overall leader.
And it looks like that's going to be Lyndon Snodgrass right behind him. Gus Reardon trying to sink his hooks into the back of the number 1 of Grant Davis as well. We've talked to Gus on the podium.
Oh, wow.
That just shows how hard Gus is pushing right now. He said, I've got to stay with Grant in those opening half a lap or so. That's where he seems to do so much damage. Once he gets deep into that XC1 field, it is so hard to try to track him down. Jason Tino making his way on screen.
Guys, and I think that camera shot and what we saw there with the back end kind of hopping and stepping out, that speaks to 2 things. Number 1, how hard these XC2 guys are pushing early, and number 2, back to what we were talking about, just that uncertain race surface, just not offering. Oh, right there. See, and here's another example. Look at this, and we've got, looks like one of the Johnson brothers, that's Brody Johnson, hitting the deck there. I think Jonathan Johnson may have switched to the XC3 class. I had seen I saw he posted online. He is racing XC3 on a gas. Had an opportunity to make the switch, was riding a privateer Honda with some backing from a local shop, back in that XC3 class where he's won a championship before, so we'll keep an eye on him here today as well. But again, that shows you right there. When you have somebody the caliber of Brody Johnson just losing the front end, going into the trees there, this track is ready to just jump up and bite you at any given time.
Well, and we talked about that yesterday, the difference between the quad side of things to the bike side of things, the rocks, the pebbles, and there's so many, rocks is such a broad term, right? You've got the pebbles that you almost skate across. You've got the boulders that'll pick up the front end and toss it out from underneath you. And then you've got, I believe Liam Draper called it that slate rock. It's almost this flat rock that you're trying to maneuver across. It gets extremely slick, not just from water, but from even soil being pushed on top of it. And then another thing Jackson and I have been seeing a lot of, the roots. We haven't talked about it a ton because of the rocks, but as you can see in this camera shot, plenty of them out here at the Old Gray.
Well, I'm going to throw in another kind of rocks here in the mix. So we've talked about, we've got those big slate rock slabs that the riders are actually riding on, and then you've got the kind of rolling rocks that you can see on the surface, the pebbles and all that. Here we have what I call landmine rocks. So they're just under the surface, you can't really see them, but because they're so long and flat, if a rider behind you or in front of you hits them, they'll actually flip up, and when you hit them, it's almost like an explosion, the way you just come carrying speed in. Next thing you know, your tires are out from underneath you. It's almost like you hit a landmine.
Hey, yeah, Johnny, it happens before you can ever do anything about it. Right now on screen, we see your XC1 Pro class coming through. That's Ben Kelly there on the KTM machine. Johnny, speaking back to those rocks, I was hearing, I believe, Toth earlier talking about it, the edges on these rocks, the rocks that are under that start showing from where these ruts are and whatnot, that can really throw these riders for a loop too. On screen now is the big green machine of Stu Baylor.
Yep.
Is that going to be our leader?
New leader. He has gotten around. He was one of those riders we saw go to the right. He has now gotten around the number 3 machine of Jordan Ashburn, and he is your new leader on screen, working his way almost to the completion of lap number 1 already. And there we see Jordan Ashburn. There we see Grant Baylor. There we see Caleb Russell. And here comes the rest of the XC1 field. Let's keep a close eye and see just how far up. There's Josh Strang. Grant Davis is able to get Craig DeLong. He was another one of those riders far to the right. There's Liam Draper. There's Ricky Russell. There's Ben Kelly. Here comes Grant Davis. Oh, my goodness, folks. We are in for one today. Evan Smith there. And now here comes, there's Gus Reardon, and he is now up to the back of Ryder Lafferty. So that's your top 2 in XC2 already through. And I don't need a stopwatch to tell you that's 1 and 2 overall right now as they run. Now, whether or not they'll hold that once they actually get to the finish line for the completion of lap number 1, we'll wait and see. But the XC2 boys are on it early today.
Yep, I was able to talk to Gus earlier. He's always so calm, cool, and collected. I said, how do you like it, man? He said, good. He said, it's going to be good. It's going to be a great day. And it is so far, running in that second place position. Back on screen, we see Stu Baylor up at the front of the pack, followed by the hometown hometown boy, Jordan Ashburn. Ashburn just up the road from us, so going to have a ton of fans here this weekend.
A ton of fans here, and he's got a little bit extra pep in his step, having to sit out the last 2 rounds with an injury sustained in Florida. Said he didn't really even crash, just hit the ground so hard, or landed so hard that he actually broke something in his shoulder. I don't remember all the specifics, so I don't want to misspeak, but it was a shoulder injury of some type. That they determined it was best if he just takes some time off the bike and heal up. Obviously, that paying dividends right now rather than riding injured. He's back out saying he feels like he's pretty close to full strength. I didn't get an opportunity to talk to him to see how much ride time he has, but right now he's looking real comfortable, and home field advantage will do that for you sometimes.
Yeah, it sure will. And Stu Baylor, Grant Davis ain't going to be able to follow Stu Baylor up to the front here today, as Stu is leading the pack. And we always talk about Stu having some rough starts sometimes, having to work his way up through the pack. That's not the case here today. So
he actually posted on his Instagram story, he had his son, Levi, on the Stasic race, was the last one off the line. He said, he's getting one of those typical starts just like Dad. Well, Dad's showing him how to get it done today, getting up front early. And maybe that's the reason we're seeing Grant Davis so far up in already. He's trying to find Stu Baylor. He's looking for him. Yep. He's marked him. He's chasing him. And he's ticking off those XC1 riders one by one. Hasn't gotten to him yet. He says, okay, I'm just going to keep going until I find that big number 514 machine.
Yep, Grant Baylor making his return to GNCC racing as well. It could be a battle of the Baylors before this one's over with. Now getting 3 riders up here into our Yamaha lot drone.
Yeah, we'll have to pick up who that rider is in third. So it's definitely Stu Baylor out front. It's definitely...
Is that Mike Wachowski?
It is. It is the number 8 of Wachowski. Thought that might have been him in that earlier camera shot through the woods. The number 8 machine, that Phoenix Racing Honda, looking good. And these guys are now getting ever so much closer to the finish line. You can see him kicking up dust, and Stu Baylor knowing that when he does that, it's going to make it harder for the riders behind him to see. But Jordan Ashburn charging through it, showing those challenges of vision right now. Mike Wachowski hot on his heels. The top 3 starting to gap out on Grant Baylor, Caleb Russell, and the rest just a little bit right now. And you can see those guys all coming the other way.
One thing that I've definitely took notice about this track, Johnny, is just how dry it is in some of these sections and how moist it is back in the woods in some of it. These riders going to deal with a little bit of everything here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, Jackson, that's one of those things, when we get to Ironman or somewhere like that, the dirt is fairly consistent throughout the property. And I love this racetrack. I love this facility. But I'll tell you about the only thing you can say about Tennessee dirt is it's consistently bad. It just doesn't hold moisture like some. There just isn't as much. There's more rock. There isn't as much more organic material in the soil. So when it's wet, it's very slick. But then when it starts to dry out, it immediately turns to dust. There's almost no transition time. There's your third place rider, Mike Wachowski, on screen, again, on that Phoenix Racing Honda. And now here comes the Grizzly. The first time we've gotten to talk about the Grizzly here in 2025. Sitting in the number 4 spot with Caleb Russell right behind in 5th.
So Caleb Russell, he's due for a good finish. Saw him up on the podium once, some other finishes that weren't quite what he would like, I'm sure. So I expect Caleb Russell to work his way up here in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of hype coming into the season. Obviously, new team, new bike, and we're seeing him kind of grow his legs, looking like he's running pretty solidly inside the top 5 right now. But, man, the pace that Stu Baylor is putting down, starting to distance himself even over Jordan Ashburn and Mike Wachowski now. Again, the dust may be a little bit of a factor, but I think it's really just intensity right now. And let's not underplay the fact that he knows back there, not too far back there likely, comes that XC2 class, and he knows he doesn't want to give up that time early like the XC1 guys have been doing. Stu Baylor, one of those guys, very high race IQ, knows that if he can keep those guys at a distance, it's harder for them to be able to pace off him. He's talked about that in many interviews.
Yeah, and one thing that I've heard Stu Baylor say several times is he likes a new track. This is not necessarily a new track our second year here, but nonetheless, compared to some of the other rounds, a lot newer.
Yeah, and the more you ride a place, the kind of more you get a feel for how it's going to develop. While it wasn't a mutter at all on Sunday last year, it definitely, there was more moisture in the dirt. We did start seeing some dust kick up toward the end of the race, but in this section of racetrack that we're watching now, there was definitely more moisture in the dirt last year, so it's going to develop a little bit differently and offer some additional challenges for these guys, different challenges than what they faced last year. And again, not to sound like a broken record, a lot more rocks popping up, continuing as this race goes on, and throughout the weekend, really, it's just continuing to bring more and more of these Tennessee rocks to the surface.
Yeah, for you on Racer TV that aren't here, the entire drive here, Johnny, is just rocks on each side of you. And, I mean, we pass sections where there's rock 40-foot high, so the rock endless here in Tennessee, in Monterey, Tennessee.
Well, Jackson, you got to get out there and do a lap on Friday, I believe. I don't know how focused you were on the trail in front of you, and if you took any time to look around. When I rode the track, it was once on 4 wheels on Thursday and then on a bicycle on Friday. So I had a little more time to kind of look around and see. There's some 40-foot rock faces right next to the racetrack in places. So it's very picturesque out there, a beautiful facility to go out and take a hike. But when you're trying to hike your 250-pound dirt bike through the woods at 30 miles an hour, a little bit more intensity, you don't quite have that time to look around.
Yep, I'm not sure if we have a camera shot of it, but there's a few sections I'm sure you went through, Johnny, that'll be here in this PM, where it's just stair steps of rocks, probably for 100 foot or better, some of those rocks being as much as 40, 50-foot long pads of rock.
Yeah, and those are what I call those slabs. And, this area of Tennessee and Kentucky is kind of known for that. Those big, there's, table rock, all those kind of terms that you use. You get up and there's no dirt. It's just this massive slab of rock, sometimes hundreds of feet long, 40, 50 feet wide. And you got to be so deliberate with your throttle application in those because there's just no grip on there. And especially when they get any moisture at all, you can quickly see you're going to lose grip and be fighting the machine.
And, Johnny, take a look at this. We have one lap complete now, and it is Grant Davis that is leading the way here on the overall. Reardon in the number 2 spot. Toth holds on to 3rd, and then Jason Tino going to be in the 4th place spot. Then we see your physical leader, Stu Baylor, all the way back in the 5th place position.
There you go. So only 3 XC1 riders in the top 10. Your top 7 in XC2 occupying 7 of those positions inside the top 10 overall as they run right now. And, man, that really has been the story of 2025. Realistically, going back even to 2022, 2023, 2021, going back many years, we've seen a few of our XC2 riders up into the higher overall positions early on. Typically then the XC1 riders trying later in the race to kind of stretch it back out, get themselves back up there in the overall. This year it's just getting harder and harder to do as these guys continue to get that much faster from that second row. And the lap times really, especially on lap 1, tell the tale of the tape. 23:32 for Grant Davis. You got to come all the way down to Stu Baylor with a 24:03, almost 30 seconds faster than the first XC1 rider was Grant Davis. And obviously, Gus Reardon back there only 3 seconds behind Grant Davis when they checked in.
Man, oh man, the XC2 boys absolutely after it here today. Taking a look, there goes Stu Baylor. That was Jordan Ashburn. There we see the number 8 of Wachowski. And now take a look at big gap going to be back to this 4th place spot. And it ain't going to be long, Johnny, until we're very liable to see one of the XC2 up into this 4th, 5th place position, as now we see Caleb Russell still going to be followed by the Grizzly Grant Baylor there aboard that Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki machine.
Yeah, so Russell able to work his way around Grant Baylor. And there, I think we may have already seen, nope, there is Grant Davis on screen. So we'll see how much of a gap he has now on Gus Reardon, as he is right to the back of Josh Strang on screen. Now there is Gus Reardon. So still a little more than that 3 seconds, but Gus can still see him right there ahead of him. Then it's Liam Draper. Then it's Ben Kelly. And coming through next is Ryder Lafferty on that 336 machine, another one of our XC1 riders. Wouldn't be surprised to see a good ride out of Ryder Lafferty today from that PA region. Comfortable with the rocks, comfortable with these conditions. And there is Josh Toth, another rider who has already won, not this year, but last year, our overall out of that XC2 class. Then there is Jason Tino. So that is your top 4 already through in that XC2. Here comes Nick DeFeo. So now 5 of the XC2 riders are through this camera shot here at the 2-mile marker, Jackson.
Hey, one thing that the XC2 has been so good at doing is they work their way up through that XC1 class with the split. They just put themselves in that overall lead. Somebody like Grant Davis is putting himself in a good spot to be able to hold on all day long.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I mean, we can beat this subject to death, but the reality of it is, when you have that pace car in front of you, when you have a rider to follow, it just lets you kind of have an anticipation of what you're about to hit and how the bike is going to react. There we see Brody Johnson having a crash early on, but already up and still well inside the top 10 in that XC2 class, sitting back there in that 18th place overall position. You can kind of key off what the rider in front of you's bike is doing, how it's reacting, and it kind of gives you your braking points, tells you kind of where you're at as far as how hard you can get on the gas. You see a rider in front of you, when they really do get on the gas and they start to lose traction, maybe you need to be a little bit more deliberate with your throttle application. But if you see them just kind of bury the throttle and they're wheeling, you can get on the gas. Just a little bit easier to follow somebody than it is to set the pace out front.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you have a minute advantage and you can catch up to them, Grant Davis and the boys in the XC2 class know that they don't actually have to get around, as we see Toby Cleveland now making his way through. Taking a look back here now, see the next rider behind Cleveland. Cleveland kind of in no man's land.
So one thing we need to address here, our defending champion, Johnny Gerard, not lining up here with us today. We did head over to the KTM Semi, asked for comment, and Zach,
Yeah, so nobody really talking to me right now. Obviously, they're pretty laser focused on what was going on. Everybody was getting ready to come through pit lane, so couldn't get a comment from KTM. I will certainly be heading back down there in just a little bit. Was hoping to find Johnny Gerard. I know he's here on property, but yeah, want to make sure we have the facts straight as far as why he is not lining up today. We know he had some issues. We talked to him a little bit earlier, having some injuries and some problems he was coming back from Camp Coker. So hopefully Johnny's okay, and we'll have him at the future rounds. But unfortunately, the number one not lining up. But one thing I did get to see while your leaders were coming through pit lane, Gus Reardon, the pit board was out. Krusty was running down pit lane, showing it to him. Simple. Stay with Grant. That's the only thing on the pit board, and looking at the overall time and his scoring, looks like those boys are doing just fine.
They're doing very well, sitting up there in that first and second place overall position. Again, not to speculate on Johnny. We'll try to continue to get the official word as to how they want to address this, but the one thing we can say factually, Johnny is here on property, like you said. As of Friday, I know the plan was to race. I think they had some ongoing evaluations as to exactly where he was at as far as his readiness to take the track. And from what I was told secondhand, not speaking for them, the decision was made this morning, soon before the race, that he would not be competing today. Again, we'll let them speak to the reasons exactly why that is.
So in our last camera shot here, able to catch our 8 class, and now here at mile number 3, seeing our XC1 Pro class making their way through. Things seeming to stay the same at the top of the pack. Stu Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, Mike Wachowski, and then Caleb Russell and Grant Baylor.
So one thing that to me looks a little bit different, we're looking at this top 20 overall. It is filled with XC1 and XC2 riders. We see a lot of green in that top 20 there, especially towards the top. We have seen our A riders, even on the first lap, up into the top 20 overall regularly this season. Not the case here today. To get to our top amateur, we actually shout out to Cole Whitmer from that Open A, starting behind 250A. I believe starting behind maybe I can't remember if they were ahead of or behind 4-stroke A lights, but he is your top amateur right now out of that Open A class, sitting in the 21st position overall, and then Gavin Simon leading the way in that 250A class in 23rd overall. So those two checked in, and there are some more checked in as well, but want to give a shout out to those top amateur riders. Again, we've been seeing some blue, some XC3 up in that top 20. We've been seeing a lot of those 250A riders, but not the case yet here today. But still, as we see, 33 minutes into this one, a lot of racing left here today. One thing I'll kind of toss this to you guys, a lot of speculation before the race of, is this going to be an X lap race or an X plus 1 lap race? So we won't know for sure, but with the lap time of 24:19 on the first lap on a slightly shortened track, they're going to have about another mile on lap number 2. A lot of guys leaning between 6 and 7 laps is kind of what they're thinking. So we'll try to keep an update on that. And once we get the official word, we'll let you know. That again will play heavy into pit strategy here, guys. What do you think? How we've seen, we saw it yesterday in the race. A lot of these guys kind of making the seat of the pants decision on whether they want to go with a 1 or a 2 pit strategy.
Well, and all I can think about is Walker Fowler. He said it the last couple of podiums. He's like, I just needed one more lap. And so many of these guys, riders and teams alike, kind of doing mental math, trying to figure out exactly where they are. And best believe I'm going to keep my eye on Stu Baylor. This is the pit strategy guy. He's oftentimes doing what the rest of the field is not. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I think lap traffic going to play a lot into this as well. I think it slowed down that WXC class a little more than I think people were anticipating. So we'll have to see. I haven't gotten a rider count here for this afternoon race. I know we had over 500 riders in our AM bike race. So it's going to be interesting to see. And we talk about the team aspect of GNCC racing, the pit strategy and the pit execution. That's where things can be made or lost in a hurry.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that WXC race. Got to give those gals a shout out.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was a battle this morning. Corey Steed getting it done with the win. Second place, Taylor Jones, 9 seconds behind. Rachel Archer, a bit of a tough day for her. Looked like she was quite a few, several minutes back, but still on the podium. Good points there in the third place spot. And folks, if you have an opportunity to get out to one of these races, it's not just the 1 p.m. pro race you need to watch. That battle in the morning race for the overalls and the WXC is very, very impressive to watch.
Man, those ladies are so impressive. Shelby Turner just behind in that 4th place spot. Got to give a shout out to Ryder Rick as well in one of our schoolboy classes, jumping up on that overall podium. So, man, there's all kinds of riders that jump up on those overall charts. We've got our sportsman class that get thrown in the mix as well. And so it's a ton of fun to watch, and it's just as intense. I mean, Corey Steed and Taylor Jones were essentially wheel-to-wheel Jackson for, 2 to 3 laps, and Rachel Archer was in that mix for the first couple of laps as well. So really fun to watch and call there for the WXC racers.
Well, hey, going back to the lap count in our AEM race earlier, we did go longer. It was about the same lap times that we're seeing right here, give or take a minute or two, and we chose 5 laps, so that could play into this one as well as we see the boys making their way through.
DeLong, Draper, and then Reardon right behind. Very similar to what we saw yesterday, a big freight train of riders, all a couple of bike lengths apart. Ben Kelly just losing touch a little bit, and couldn't quite see which Ampere was that.
Evan Smith. Okay, perfect. Hard to, at that speed, as fast as these guys are going, sometimes it's hard to catch the number. Now we see the 206 of Josh Toth, so I believe that would be 3rd place in our XC2 class, and you can see he has started to lose the toe a little bit, but he is a rider very strong on the rocks. Then comes Cody Barnes in the number 4 spot in that XC2 class, and then here comes Jason Tino. So Cody Barnes has actually gotten around Jason Tino, has gotten around Nick DeFeo, and has worked his way up there now into that number 4 spot just behind Josh Toth. Lyndon Snodgrass on screen, then Nick DeFeo. Jump ahead about a mile further. Here is your physical leader on track and sitting in that 5th place overall when they checked in last lap. And look at that. Looks like Jordan Ashburn got a little closer in that section and bringing Mike Wachowski with him. Watching the gap back, you can see these are the best motorcycle racers in the world, some of the best motorcycle racers in the world, and to see them kind of struggling for traction, and you see them almost looking, this is going to sound wrong, but amateurish out there, just shows you just how tough this racetrack is and how hard it is to find grip through these sections here.
Very curious here. Caleb Russell taking a little bit different of a line. Ooh, almost doesn't work out. And what I was going to talk about was that is one of those few sections where height of the rider could be very beneficial. We saw Jordan Ashburn, one of our taller riders, kind of just dab the foot. Mike Wachowski, a little smaller in stature. It's a little bit harder of a step off that machine. Looks like most of the rest of the riders doing a good job of keeping those feet on the pegs. Ben Kelly, we know he's a little bit one of our taller riders as well, kind of leaning over to that far right-hand side.
Ooh.
Evan Smith.
Running the edges, trying to find some grip. I'll tell you what, to me, through there, Grant Davis. I mean, feet on the pegs, just absolutely driving forward. He seemed to carry more momentum through that wet section of racetrack there where we see the standing water, and it allowed him to carry more momentum up the hill. I'll tell you what, Josh Toth looking good as well. And you could see Ryder Lafferty kind of doing the dog paddle thing there, and then comes Cody Barnes.
Good run for Cody.
Good run through there as well. Here comes Jason Tino on that Flat Rock Motorsports gas machine, kind of a local race for that home team, or a home race for that team as well, based right here out of Monterey, Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, all the...
DeFeo.
Hang on to a T-Rex. Stepping, and I'm excited to see what Jack Walker is able to do as well. He's a couple of the riders that I'm really keeping an eye on. Jack Walker getting that good start, and Jason Tino, another one out of that XC2 class. I'd really like to see what they're able to do with some of our podium finishers in XC2 just in front of them. The Gus Reardons, the Cody Barnes, and then obviously everybody trying to chase down your leader, Grant Davis. And we did just get word, so the exact split between XC1 and XC2 is 1 minute and 9 seconds, and that is crucial information. Jackson Burrow getting us that info there from Race Control. We know how important each and every second is here now with the XC2 not only battling for their own class, but these overall wins as well.
Yeah, that it helps us. You know, obviously the scoring software will make those adjustments all on its own. You know, that nobody needs to calculate that. But for us, when we're watching on screen and we're watching those times, that minute 9 is the number that we're looking for. That was the amount of time between the front row start and the second row start. So that is the time adjustment that Grant Davis, Gus Reardon, Josh Toth, and the rest of those XC2 riders are working with. So as long as they can really see those riders up in the distance, they've got them covered on time.
Man, nice little gap here built up, but a very different line choice for Mike Wachowski compared to your two front runners going way over to the right-hand side. But it actually looked like it was a little bit more of a straight shot. Couldn't tell whether or not he made up any time on Jordan Ashburn or not, but it just goes to show here at lap 2 now, these guys are starting to search a little bit, trying to find some different line options. Beautiful example of it right there.
Yeah, and that is actually 3 tree lines coming down that hill. Jackson, I don't know if you remember that section, but you kind of come over the top, you look down into the valley, and it's like, man, which way is the best way to go? But all these guys have pedaled, most of them multiple laps, so they've got kind of their lines picked out. Tell you what, shout out to Evan Smith, looking good, really hanging on to the back of Ben Kelly. And Ben Kelly coming off a win and our current points leader. I think we're going to start to see him stir once he maybe gets a little bit more comfortable. Man, Josh Toad, feet on the pegs, charging through those rocks, carrying a lot of speed. I think he's going to continue to make up ground on the riders in front of him. Then comes Cody Barnes on the Phoenix Racing Honda. Consistent podium contender or finisher through the last 3 races, needing to make at least one pass to get himself in that position. Jason Tino, like you pointed out, a little bit of a slow start to 2025, but seemingly getting better these last couple rounds.
Yeah, Tino, I talked to him a little bit off camera there, and always got a smile on the face, and also not shying away from the struggles. He's like, been trying to get comfortable on the machine and get back to feeling like I should be riding. We really saw him start to come to life towards the tail end of 2024, jumping up, grabbing some podiums, and I think now moving up to that XC2 class, it's you're in the, I don't want to say the small fish in a big pond, but you're moving up to the next level of athletes, and I think he's got the pen and paper out. He's taking a lot of notes right now, expecting big things from Tino later in the season.
Well, there may be another factor here as well. You know, Jason Tino, big change for him. Had some support from Husqvarna in the past, but rode for a local shop, a lot of family involved, friends, local sponsors. Now he's in the big show, man. Riding out of a semi can, if you don't manage it properly, it can put some additional pressure. You see Stu Baylor now working his way through at the 7-mile marker. In this section of racetrack last year, I don't think we had a camera shot here, but when I came through here on Thursday looking at it and then pedaling through on Friday, man, it just got so chewed out from last year. It was so deep. You can see those ruts even from the previous races this weekend, but your top 3 are through now at the 7-mile marker. And I'll tell you what, they're covering a lot of ground quickly. I'm starting to lean towards what I think, not race control, think we may be looking more like a 7-lap race than a 6. They're covering ground a lot quicker than I expected for the track conditions. Just goes to show how hard they're pushing the pace.
Caleb Russell now making his way on screen. One thing we haven't talked about is there is some vines hanging down. I believe it is that section that they're going through right now. So those riders are going to have to make sure that they don't get caught up in any of those. Johnny, who was at the outside?
Ricky Russell.
Ricky Russell. Then we see Grant Baylor. Now,
there's Craig DeLong. There's all of them.
Yeah, there is.
There's Liam Draper. There is now Ben Kelly. Also saw Gus Reardon come through, so that was second in your XC2 class, and there is the 347 of Evan Smith. Again, hanging tough, really right in sight with these guys. Only doing select GNCCs this year, kind of focused on some other series, and then here comes Josh Toth. Man, you can see how much speed he's carrying through that section of racetrack on that Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC Kawasaki, and then Cody Barnes, one of our taller riders, kind of having to duck down to get under some of those tree limbs on that inside line, outside from the camera, inside on the racetrack.
Gets in that full tuck position there.
A lot of good lines that we're seeing here on screen as Ryder Lafferty makes his way through.
Curious, Johnny, do you know whether Ricky Russell continuing with that Triumph 450? We know he was on that at Camp Coker.
I don't. I didn't really look that closely before the race. That maybe I know he's got a pretty small crew here, but if we get an opportunity, we'll definitely check in and see if we can confirm riding that 450 very well at the last race. But this is a track that, again, not to beat a dead horse, but almost may favor that 250 machine. Just a little bit easier on the throttle, not having to quite worry about the big girl getting away from you when you grab a handful. Not a lot of grip in the track, but who knows? We'll wait and see. Stu Baylor making the 450 work right now, but when you look at the corrected time, again, 1 minute and 9 seconds between those 2 start rows, and the top 4 as they ran at the end of lap number 1 were all XC2 riders.
So a little bit of space now here is, I believe that's Lyndon Snodgrass making his way through. Snodgrass, I think, kind of had caught us off guard at the start of the season, how well he was running, but then it kind of turned into consistent behavior. So this is a little bit behind the 8 ball for Snodgrass compared to some of the other rounds we've seen this season.
Yeah, conditions very different from what we've seen so far this season. Not maybe right here. We've seen ruts, we've seen mud, but this is our first rock race. So suspension setup really key on a day like today, unless you're Jordan Ashburn, and then you just go fast no matter the conditions, no matter the track.
Jordan loves the rock.
He's just that consistent factor that's always there, seemingly battling in or near the top 3. And I got to tell you, impressed with Mike Wachowski so far. Not that he's running in the top 3. We've seen a lot of that so far this season, but to be this close to the front, right off the rip, I think he got a good start and he's making the most of it.
Well, and Ashburn, kind of a slow burner as well. We don't really see a ton of flashes from him right in the beginning, so got to think if he's already in a good spot right now, clearly seems to be comfortable with the pace. This could be dangerous late in the race, but this is another guy right here. You see the little glance over the shoulder. Stu Baylor, we know how much he loves just information when he's riding. Where are other riders? I'm sure he's probably getting pit boards as to where Grant is at as well, and looked back and saw Mike Wachowski on that Phoenix Racing Honda and might have caught a glimpse of the Flat Rock gas of Jordan Ashburn as well.
There we go. So there is Ricky Russell on the 212 Triumph. Not sure if it's the 250 or the 450, but he has made his way around Caleb Russell, gotten around Grant Baylor, and is now up to the number 4 spot physically on the racetrack, looking like he is about 20 seconds behind your lead trio there.
Man, and this section right here, it looks relatively smooth here with these guys going through it, but Jackson and I were walking back through here earlier during our AM bike race, and there's a couple of these rocks. Some of them, the riders hit and they just pop right up out of the ground. Some of them are really dug and buried down in there, and it will completely pick the back end of these bikes up. It's one of those things where sometimes it happens before you even realize what's taking place.
A little bit of shout out here for Josh Strang, looking really good today on that factory beta. Evan Smith, little problem there, looking like he stalled the bike maybe and had to restart it. But Josh Strang has been seemingly getting a little more comfortable on that bike each round, looking better and better. And now, solidly, if you look at the overall, sitting in that 13th place spot, not looking amazing, but once you consider the fact that a lot of those guys are XC2 guys that are physically behind him, doing very well here at the start of this Old Gray, riding well on that Liqui factory beta.
So back on screen is the battle for this top spot, and look at that, Jordan Ashburn now starting to close up the gap there in that second place.
Guys, are we seeing a repeat of 2024 here? Because this is exactly what we saw at the end of the race last year. Stu Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, absolutely glued to each other and battling through this very section of racetrack on Racer TV 365 days ago, or 1 calendar year. Don't know exactly what the date was, but they are so close together, and this is what we saw throughout the final moments of the race here in 2024. So maybe these guys a little bit of confidence. Maybe they went back to the notebook and checked out the suspension clicker settings, figured out exactly what they'd done. But I tell you right now, looks to me like Jordan Ashburn is the rider on the move, looking like maybe he's just got a little better flow than Stu Baylor right now, and Mike Wachowski still lurking back there in the number 3 spot, just a few seconds behind these two.
So these two up at the front, picking back up where they left off, and if my eyes did not deceive me, Davis is now all the way up to Russell. So Davis continuing to charge forward here in this one,
which would make him 6th physically on the racetrack. But again, we know when he's with looking like just ahead of Russell was Ricky Russell. So we have Russell and Russell in that number 4 and 5 spot physically. Those guys are about 20 seconds, give or take, behind this group here. Look at that line from Jordan Ashburn, kind of squaring things up. We saw that yesterday, some passes made there, and now they're going to be heading into that, we'll call it the canopy section. It's completely covered over. We got vines in there, and this could, as it comes to the finish line with lapped riders, be a section where time can very easily be won or lost through this section of racetrack.
So this is going to be our vine section as Stu Baylor pops out. Take a look at that. Just a few bike lengths. Stu Baylor, without a doubt, doing that on purpose, trying to make sure that he throws some dust up for Jordan Ashburn there.
And Jordan Ashburn kind of anticipating that, squaring it up, taking that inside, getting some clean running room and some clean air. Mike Wachowski, again, making up some time here. So not looking like he's ready to let these guys go by any means. He wants to stay with this lead duo because he knows that if he's able to do that, look at this, Jordan Ashburn really looking racy. I think we're going to see an attempt for a pass at the lead here soon.
Yeah, I was about to say, I said Jordan Ashburn, we don't usually see a flash at the beginning. Scratch that. Jordan Ashburn trying to make it happen and happen right now.
You know he has to be fired up here in front of the hometown crowd, especially after getting that hole shot. I told him last year when we were talking to him after the race, this is one of the first times I've ever been able to hear people cheering from the Racer TV, and it was all for Jordan Ashburn, so I'm sure he is fired up and ready to show the fans what he's capable of.
Man, and tons of fans here for Jordan Ashburn. Such a likable guy, always so positive, so supportive of his team and those that help him do his job, and excited to see what he's able to do here. But man, no easy task getting around Stu Baylor as the yo-yo effect continues here. Baylor opens it up by about a bike length or so as they're getting ready to put another lap down.
2 laps complete now for Stu Baylor. Jordan Ashburn in the number 2 spot, losing just a few seconds in those chicanes there. Mike Wachowski solidly in the number 3 spot physically. We keep having to say that because we know back there lurking is the green number 1 of Grant Davis. You can see him dropping down to 4th place overall until he checks in. We'll see what the time split is. But the last camera shot, he was well within that 1 minute and 9 seconds. I expect we are going to see him jump back to the top of the leaderboard.
And here we go. Going to get to take a look at Grant Davis making his way around the finish. Going to see if he's going to jump back up to the top. And here we go.
Right back to the top.
He does.
So with now 6 riders checked in, Grant Davis leading the way, Stu Baylor 2nd, Jordan Ashburn 3rd, Mike Witkowski 4th, Ricky Russell in 5th, and Caleb Russell in that 6th place spot. I think we will see Gus Reardon, Josh Toth, Cody Barnes, and the rest checking in here soon, and I think that will continue to shake up the overall positions. And boom, 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 just like that, here they come. Gus Reardon in now into that number 2 spot in the overall and 2nd in XC2, 16.5 seconds behind class leader and overall leader Grant Davis.
So there we just saw Ricky Russell making his way by. There goes Caleb Russell, and now Grant Davis making his way through.
I saw that as well.
Yeah.
Bike stand there looking like we may see that. Typically, to me, a bike stand would mean one of 2 things: a wheel change or a brake change of some kind. That's generally speaking what you would see that out for.
Trying to see, been a second since we've seen Grant Baylor on camera. I know it was Stu Baylor's stand, but that doesn't always mean something. So
some more of our XC2 riders
wow,
checking in, and now Josh Toth 14 seconds behind Reardon into the 3rd place spot in XC2 and 3rd overall. Cody Barnes another 2 seconds behind Toth and 4th place in that overall, as well as 4th in that XC2. So what we did see was 7 of the top 10 last lap were XC2 riders. Looking like right now, if we go through the top 10, it has dropped down to 4. Jack Walker coming through in the number 10 spot. So your top 4 overall in that XC2 class are your top 4 overall as well, and then 5th place in XC2 back there in the number 10 spot. So starting to shift back a little bit to more equal between XC1 and XC2, but you can see the lap times on screen there, Jackson.
Yeah, Stu Baylor turning a 25.47, but look at Grant Davis up there with a 25.43, going to be about 4 seconds faster. But how about Jordan Ashburn dropping that time by almost 2 seconds against Stu Baylor? No doubt about it.
Give a shout out to Cody Barnes.
Yeah, I was just
the fastest man on the chart, the 25.42. And I mean, look at that, just a couple of seconds separating these guys. Completely different parts of the track, different classes, but not only seconds, but tenths of seconds and hundredths of seconds coming down to it as to who has the fastest lap.
And only 2 seconds going to be separating Cody Barnes and Josh Toth there. So Toth have to be aware Barnes is on the way.
Yep, he's been on the podium the last 3 races. You know he wants to be there as well. Josh Toth having some struggle. Oh, there we see another mix-up of lines in our battle for the lead. Out front, Stu Baylor has it. Just behind him, man, Jordan Ashburn coming. You surely can't say off the couch, but you know he's not been at full race pace. Don't know how much he's actually been riding, but looking very solid and very Jordan so far today. Just not making any mistakes, putting pressure on Baylor the whole way.
Well, and Baylor has opened it up a little bit since they've gotten back into the woods, but it seems like Ashburn, we saw kind of that quick flash, a quick little push to see if he could get around. Maybe he settled back in here for just a beat, going to follow Stu Baylor, and at the moment at least the pace looking decent. I think all these guys pretty well aware of one another, how they like to ride, and I think Jordan knows, hey, Stu Baylor not going to be a guy to just settle for an XC1 win. He wants the overall.
So there, on screen, that is the battle for the overall leads. Many other riders in that mix as well, but your XC2 leader, 49.15 elapsed time. Stu Baylor, your XC1 leader, 49.50. So 35 seconds is the advantage right now that Grant Davis is working with. 1 minute 9, the difference on the start
Look
times.
at that, guys. That is not Jordan Ashburn. That is Mike Witkowski.
So Jordan Ashburn giving up a little bit of time there. And man, Mike Witkowski, not only is he up solidly in a podium position, now he's wanting to take a shot at the lead.
I thought I caught that. I know both those riders wearing similar Moose Racing gear, and so it was hard to tell. Same helmets, I believe, as well. But Ashburn, good to see he's still up in that 3rd place spot. Maybe a quick little mishap, and still got a bit of time back to Ricky Russell, and then Caleb Russell and Grant Davis right there.
I'll tell you something that kind of really jumped out to me looking at lap 1 and lap 2. Craig DeLong really solid there up in the, I guess I would put him 5th place spot in the XC1 class. And then here comes Liam Draper. There is Josh Toth. There is Gus Reardon. There is Ben Kelly, and then Josh Strang still in touch with that second part of that lead group in the XC1 class. The gaps in XC1, that first lap, Stu Baylor really dropped the hammer. Drug, there is Evan Smith, drug both Jordan Ashburn and Mike Wachowski with him. They opened up over a 20-second lead on the rest of the XC1 class, but Ricky Russell starting to push the pace on lap number 2 kind of neutralized that charge, and they've kept it right at that same, exactly the same, 20 seconds back, and that really shows those guys further back have really picked up the pace on lap number 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't care if it's a 750 that Ricky Russell's on. He is clearly fired up, and you can see the intensity is there, and he's bringing the riders just behind him along with him as well. So sometimes it just takes that one. These guys get settled in a little bit, and one guy says, you know what, we got to pick it up a little bit, and he brings the whole freight train along with him.
Yeah, and that's, I think, him pushing the pace. Also, Grant Davis coming up through the pack, Gus Reardon, Josh Toth, Cody Barnes, gives these other XC1 riders an opportunity to kind of regroup, catch their breath, and almost turn the tables on the XC2 class, let them set the pace. But right now, out front setting the pace, Stu Baylor, he does not want to let those XC2 riders catch him. Don't know if he's gotten pit boards, but I'm certain that he knows that lurking back there somewhere are those XC2 riders, and he's going for all he's worth right now to try to keep them from being able to lay eyes on him, because once they can see him, it just makes it easier for them to pace him. Doing it on pit boards, it's kind of an abstract idea. If they're out there somewhere, my pit boards tell me I'm catching them, but once you can actually see them, you get your hooks in, and it's like a tow rope.
Watching on screen here, lose sight of him for just a second on our Yamaha Racing live drone, as we'll try to pick back up with that lead group. Stu Baylor, not only the lead XC1 rider for that Rocky Mountain Red Bear team, but also kind of doing double duty, no longer the technical manager of the team, but still doing a lot of the managerial stuff, if you will, for that Rocky Mountain Red Bear team.
All right, yeah. You said it. He has a lot of different hats that he's wearing, and you know, sometimes it's hard for him to focus. But right now, he's out front, he's focused, and he's leading the way. But man, Mike Wachowski looking very, very racy here early in this one.
Very
spicy,
racy.
even.
Spicy, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. New race, and like, let's, at this point, Grant Davis is here to stay. He's not going anywhere, right? Like, this is just, I think we get to this point every single race. That's just how it's going to be.
Well, and I think we talked about the quiet confidence of Bryson Neal. Obviously, Bryson in that XC1 field, but I think that's what Grant Davis has got as well. I think he lines up each and every round knowing, hey, I should be on the podium in XC2, and I should be on the podium overall as well. I think that's just
he's got that expectation, and I think we're at that point too.
Yeah, I think that's the same.
We're all unanimous on it. I like that.
All right, on screen, here comes the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn. Man, just pushing the pace, trying to get back to that lead. Look at this. Ricky Russell now has absolutely closed it up to where he can see Jordan Ashburn ahead of him. And, man, he is on a mission, continuing to try to close that gap down. Then comes Caleb Russell and Grant Davis right behind him. Davis still not able to make a move on Russell. Kind of surprising, because he really made a lot of ground up quickly. And then Craig DeLong turning up the pace these last couple miles, probably getting passed by his young training partner, Grant Davis, and saying, no, buddy, I'm going with you today. I'm not just going to let you ride by me and ride away. Surely a very tough racetrack for Craig DeLong with the 19-inch inseam. It's very tough for him to reach his foot pegs, let alone.
Ouch,
I actually did find out he has a nickname we're allowed to use on screen. His someday soon-to-be mother-in-law has nicknamed him Leprechaun Pants because he has such tiny little pants. We love Craig, but man, it's impressive to see how well he rides the rocks. We talk about those long legs being an advantage. Craig on the other end of that spectrum.
Well, the Leprechaun are going to try to find out what's on the far side of the rainbow, but we got a long way to go before we get there. Meanwhile, Stu Baylor and Grant Davis trying to do battle for the overall win. The XC1 and the XC2 field now starting to battle for the overall podium on a regular basis. Jordan Ashburn, can't forget about the hometown kid, Mike Wachowski, getting in the mix as well. We're going to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back to the Old Gray here on Racer TV.
On Track School is an online private school catering to some of the top athletes in the world. We offer a flexible schedule for students that are chasing their dreams and always on the go. We are an accredited K-12 school where students can graduate with a diploma. Scan the QR code or call us to book an appointment with one of our learning coaches to discuss your students' next steps.
OnTrackSchool.com. Check it out.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 left. The main event. The mud, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that. Because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
It takes commitment, passion, and endurance to make something great. Made by champions, for champions.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. And welcome back to GNCC Live. First of all, I saw that Dodge yesterday when I was leaving. I don't know if he just drives by Landers KTM just to get some camera time, but it's a good-looking truck. It was a great-looking fan fest. The who's who of KTM was there. Ben Kelly signing some autographs, and there's that young pesky kid, Grant Davis, and the rest of the XC2 and amateur guys out there. Chris Landers and some kiddos. Fun for everybody. Really cool opportunity, and Zach, you were saying, I'm sure somebody at the end of that. There's the home state man, Jordan
that
Ashburn.
Kid, that's got to be the one. He got that bike.
There's
no way
yeah.
Mom and Dad were saying no.
Yeah.
So you see that face.
And
that's what it's all about. Chris Landers, we talked about we basically could call this Landers, Tennessee at this point, but really cool to see how involved they are with the local community and as well as the motorsports community as well, continuing to help support. They're a big supporter of that STACYC showdown that we have every Saturday night and a big supporter of the top of the field right now as well with Grant Davis. We just saw your leaders go through. Johnny, what are you seeing?
Well, that was very interesting, the way that played out. We've got... Yeah, we got a couple camera shots here. We're now at the 5-mile marker. Jordan Ashburn making up some ground, getting back closer to the lead duo. We did see Mike Wachowski on screen there, and then this is the rider on the move right now. Ricky Russell, that 212 Triumph rider for the Enduro Engineering team, is pushing the pace, and right now he is proving faster than all the other riders on the track, at least on screen, and from the gaps we're seeing. It looked like Grant Davis may be having a little struggle there. He was right on the rear wheel of Caleb Russell, taking another line and then dropping back. Craig DeLong putting some pressure on him now. So at least for now, his charge has stalled out. I don't think we're going to see him. Oh, look at that. We may see a pass. And yes, Ben Kelly getting the pass made on Liam Draper on the 198 machine. Ben Kelly starting to stir. He was our last round winner, and Gus Reardon having some struggles there as well. Again, folks, best riders in the world on dirt bikes struggling with some of these sections that on camera don't look that challenging, showing you just how tough this old gray racetrack is.
And Liam getting the line pointed there by the AmPro team, and I think that kind of showed the cards for Ben Kelly. He said, all right, if I just throttle through, make it happen. Evan Smith out there rolling. So Ben Kelly picking up a position.
And I think it's important for Ben Kelly to try to get closer to that lead group. Obviously, he is a rider that tends to get stronger as the race goes on. But if you've got too much ground to make up, and right now he's obviously got the XC2 leader already physically ahead of him. Can't even see him up on the trail up there. So you know he's probably fired up and say, hey, guys, I'm the points leader. I won the last race. I'm not going to let you guys ride away from me. So looking like he's starting to get a little more comfy, carry a little more speed, and make up some ground on those riders in front of him. But again, shout out to Ricky Russell on that 212 Enduro Engineering Racing Triumph. He is, to me, by the eye test, the fastest rider on track right now.
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to disagree with that one, the time that he's been able to make up. Oh, these are the kinds of things that can wreak havoc on our top riders later in the day as well. Look at this. Couple of lap riders moving through. Lafferty slicing and dicing his way through that lap traffic. And it looks like the lap rider maybe got the short end of the stick on that one. Jack Walker putting an impressive performance in as well. This is probably the most we've seen of him, sitting in that 10th overall spot right now.
I don't really know Jack's history, but I believe he's from Illinois or Indiana. Surprised to see him, not that he's riding well, but in rocky technical conditions like this. But he is a taller rider. Again, those longer legs possibly helping out in a situation like this. Now here's your third place rider, Mike Wachowski, coming through pretty much glued to the rear wheel of Stu Baylor right now, first and second. And there is Ashburn in third. And here comes... Look at the speed Ricky Russell is carrying. I'm telling you guys, he is on a mission, and he is starting to distance from the riders behind him, which is Caleb Russell and Grant Davis. He's able to stretch it out a little bit over those guys. Caleb Russell taking that inside line. Grant Davis on the outside, and there is Craig DeLong. So that is the next three riders through on track. All those guys very hard on the throttle, trying to chase over the... And here comes Ben Kelly, again, starting to pick up the pace, was able to get around this rider, Liam Draper. Man, it's starting to heat up, folks.
Man, Ben Kelly got the memo. It is time to go. But like you said, I think given the eye test, Ricky Russell looks to be the fastest man on course, and we were actually able to catch up with the Enduro Engineering Triumph rider, Ricky Russell.
It's been a new bike for everyone. The motocross community just introduced it this year, and then we're trying to kind of introduce it to off-road. And so started off on the 250 because the 450s weren't quite available yet, and for XC1 I talked about going to XC2 and giving it a run on the 250, but then as later in the year the 450 now has come out, I'd be going to XC1, so just raced the 250 and XC1 for the first 4 rounds, and it was good. It wasn't like it was disadvantage in places, but it was advantage in places too. Like the mud races, I think a 250 was hands down better, just fighting it through the mud. So been happy with it. We had to work out a few little kinks here and there just with the new model. I had that with the new Yamaha when it first came out, just little issues here and there for the off-road, mud races mainly. Like it's just so hard on the bike, 3 hours of mud. So we worked those out and kind of got the bike dialed in now, and it's been good. Camp Coker was my first race on this bike, and I only had it for about a week beforehand, the 450, and it was going all right. I was in the top 5, and we had a bad start, but we moved forward, and we were competitive right in it, and then had a little mishap with about a lap and a half to go. Kind of had a big one and just kind of took the wind out of my sails and kind of fell back, but we were in the mix, and I felt good, so I'm excited to come up here, and I like the rocks, so we'll see. This thing feels like a tractor, so I think it creates traction really well, and we'll be good in the rocks.
All right, so Rough and Rowdy Ricky Russell likes the rocks. That was a nickname coined by, I believe, Rodney Tomlin. I picked up where Rodney left off. I call him the Rough and Rowdy Ricky Russell, and Ricky Russell weighed in on that. I don't know if he feels the same way.
That started my first ever race. I mean, I came over here from Washington State and just jumped straight into XC1, and no one knew who I was. And Rodney just announced me as, he didn't know who I was either, but he just went with the flow and said, he's rough, he's rowdy, it's Ricky Russell, and kind of just stuck from there. And I mean, I don't dislike it, it's whatever, but yeah, I'm not really, people don't say I'm really that rough and rowdy, but I try to be a little bit on the racetrack at times, and I don't know, it's funny, it's kind of comical.
We'll take it. Well, what is rough and rowdy is the race out on the track right now, Johnny.
Yeah, I think it was hard to tell there, but we may have actually seen a pass for the lead. It looked like Stu Baylor possibly bobbled through that section, and Mike Wachowski just carrying a ton of speed in that right line. If he didn't make the pass, he got very close. And then the biggest thing that I noticed there, Ricky Russell was much, much closer to Jordan Ashburn there, and that continues to tighten up that battle for the top 3, 4, 5 on track physically. But Grant Davis had gotten around Caleb Russell in that shot and actually started to pull a little bit of distance. So he is on a mission and continuing to try to chip away at that gap of 35 seconds that he already holds over your physical leaders. Stu Baylor.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't know if Ricky's getting in street fights on the off weekends or what, but he's looking pretty rowdy right now. He has chased down that lead group, and won't be long before we'll see him actually be able to start showing a wheel and try to make some passes.
That really speaks to the brilliance of Rodney Tomlin.
Right,
When you don't have anything to say, you make something up, and it stuck for all these years.
I'm always trying to think of like a nickname for somebody. Rodney had that dialed. Credit where credit's due. Rodney could come up with some good ones. Well, whether they applied or not, they sounded good.
And not to, he's not here to defend himself, and it's not a bad thing, but he tends to recycle those. There's been several hurricanes, so it just kind of goes with the first letter of the last name. But so we are confirming that is still Stu Baylor in the lead. So Mike Witkowski getting close, and he is right there on the rear wheel, but did not make the pass in our camera shot at the 7. You can see lap riders really starting to have to kind of, you don't want to say struggle to get out of the way, but again, with uncertain traction, they're really trying to hold their line and not, kind of move over into the way of these riders as they are getting lapped. There you can see Stu Baylor leading the way. There's Mike Witkowski in second, and here comes the big number 3 of Jordan Ashburn on that Flat Rock Racing. Factory gas in the number 3 spot, and just like that, here comes Ricky Russell on the 212 Enduro Engineering Triumph. He spoke about the torque of that machine, saying he felt like it really helped him get good grip, and he said it kind of makes traction. Here comes your overall leader and XC2 leader, Grant Davis, and just behind him, the 557 of Caleb Russell, trying to catch a toe, and then here comes the 342 of Craig DeLong in that very, very bright racing, fly racing gear, and Ben Kelly is now to the rear wheel of Craig DeLong after he got around Liam Draper just a few short miles ago. Draper hanging tough there. Man, these guys are all just separated by just a few bike lengths. Gus Reardon doing everything he can to try to track Grant Davis back down, not far behind, but right now not quite able to get to his rear wheel. 16 seconds was the gap just a lap ago, and I think it has stretched out a little bit more. Grant Davis opening up. Oh, look at this. We are told we do have a pass for the lead, and Mike Witkowski able to get it done, getting around the 514 of Stu Baylor. New leader change.
There you go, Mike Witkowski. Let's see what he can do with it. We've seen Mike in this position early in some races, but
now approaching the halfway mark.
Yeah, we're getting into the nitty-gritty on this, but Mike Witkowski, and he's been showing these signs, and kind of overlooked Mike Witkowski in the XC1 class, where he's had some podiums in the XC1, but it's been overlooked a little bit because of the XC2 guys having that success. We would certainly be talking about it if he can pull off an overall or at least an XC1 win.
There is Cody Barnes. There is Josh Strang now at the 9-mile marker. These guys getting closer to the finish line, where we will get the official live timing and scoring check-ins. Grant Baylor hanging tough out there. It's tough when you're coming. The amount of time off the bike that this guy's had and away from racing to come right back into round 5. These guys are in prime race shape. They've been battling. They know what it takes, but he's hanging tough, and he's keeping himself in the mix and getting valuable seat time. We know he is a contender for podiums and race wins every time he goes out on the racetrack.
That's right. Evan Smith not too far behind him, that 347. And we did get word, by the way, from Jackson Burrell. Sounds like Josh Toth was being towed in.
Bummer for him.
If that's the case, he is out. So confirmation, another lead change. Difficult to see through the trees, but Stu Baylor, and you kind of get a glimpse right there, back out in front of Mike Witkowski. So Stu going to work right away, retaking that lead. And maybe the lap traffic is playing into that, as Stu has to check up behind some lappers right there.
Yeah, you can see he's taking that. It's actually a slower line where he's at, but he's able to sneak around those lap riders. They check out, let both of our lead duo by. The battle you're seeing on screen is Stu Baylor leading Mike Witkowski, momentarily wrestling the lead away, but Stu Baylor taking it back in just a short section of racetrack later. Witkowski really impressive so far here through 2 laps, working on getting near the end of lap number 3. Looking good, looking strong, and putting a ton of pressure on Stu Baylor.
So consistent pressure coming from the number 8 of Mike Witkowski on that Phoenix Racing Honda, a yo-yo effect, as Stu Baylor makes the pass back and almost immediately puts a couple of bike lengths between them. And like we said, it's tough spots. Kind of seems like they catch these lap riders in groups here from time to time. And sometimes it seems to be it's a disadvantage to be the leader, but at least in that situation, it definitely worked to Mike Witkowski's advantage. Oh, a little bobble there from Stu exiting that corner.
I want to share a little bit of this is just my thoughts, insight on why lapped riders may be a bigger factor in this race than they are in many. Kind of alluding to it earlier, it is tougher for them to get out of the way because it's tougher for them to even control their machine. You're doing all you can do to just maintain your forward momentum, and you're kind of bouncing from one side of the racetrack to the other in search of traction. When you slow down, especially in the rocks and the slick stuff, it's even harder to keep the bike going straight. So you just can't be as confident when you're passing lapped riders in these conditions, because in one moment they can be on the right side of the racetrack and they've done nothing wrong, because our XC1 guys are doing the same thing. You can pick a line, but sometimes the track has other ideas and it bounces you to the left. So it really is a very stressful undertaking to pass lapped riders, and they're doing it dozens and dozens and dozens of times every lap.
Be interesting to see. We get into that third hour. Zach, you could probably speak to it a little more. In the morning race, it seemed like we had some injuries. We know that, hey, what we do is dangerous, all of those things, safety first. But this was one where it seemed like we got into that second hour this morning, and riders started making those mistakes because of fatigue. Obviously, your A riders, B riders, younger, more conditioned and prepared for it, but it's going to be interesting to see if that plays a factor. Similar to what we saw in Liam Draper, able to hang on for a second, but you could see from the drone footage as our leader's checking in, he was really, really laying it all out on the track there that last lap. What are we looking like?
So just looking at lap times, obviously we have just our top two checked in. Now third place rider Jordan Ashburn checking in. Lap times right now, what I'm looking at, Stu Baylor slowed down about, let's see, what would that be? About almost 20 seconds on that lap from his previous lap time. So it really just does go to show you how difficult this racetrack is getting and how much lapped riders may be coming into play here. We didn't see any pit stops or anything like that, so this is just outright speed on the track. Now we see Ricky Russell coming through to check in. And
there's a shot of Josh Toth. Ice on the arm, the hand, wrist.
Man, hate to see that from Toth after such a solid start.
Witkowski in the pit. So we're
Witkowski into the pits, off and rolling. Probably we'll see. So Witkowski's on the backside of Pro Row, and did not see Stu Baylor anywhere. I don't see him in front or behind. Maybe Stu did not pit. We know Stu likes those wild pit strategies.
There he is.
There he is, yeah. So Stu has opened
he either had the world's fastest pit stop or he did not pit, meaning that with 3 laps complete, I mean, I guess he's going to go for 4? Or he had a super, super fast pit stop. We'll have to get confirmation, but it sure did not.
Okay.
Wow. So 4 laps, hour and 17 minutes into this one with a 26-minute lap time. I mean, my math says that's going to be about an hour. I mean, that's going to be an hour and 40 minutes on a tank of fuel.
Stu Baylor watched Walker Fowler yesterday, apparently.
All right, so Stu Baylor.
No. This is Jordan Ashburn in the pits now with his mechanic, bikes up on the stand.
That's going to shake things up. He was sitting up in that 6th place overall position, only 8 seconds behind. I'll give you a quick rundown here. Let me know if anything happens on screen. We do have our top 15 overall checked in now. Grant Davis still leading the way. Gus Reardon still in 3rd, and Cody Barnes in the number 4 spot. We've lost Josh Toth. So first it was the top 6 were all XC2 riders, top 5. Then it was the top 4. Now it's the top 3. Grant Davis, Angus Reardon, and Cody Barnes, your top 3 as they run on the track. A 25-second lead for Grant Davis, and then Cody Barnes 7 seconds behind Angus Reardon. Stu Baylor leading the way in that XC1 class, 4th place overall. 5th overall is Mike Witkowski. 6th overall was Jordan Ashburn. Ricky Russell 7th, Caleb Russell 8th, and Ben Kelly in the number 9 spot. Back to 10th place overall, Craig DeLong. 11th overall, Liam Draper, and then Nick DeFeo 12th, Josh Strang 13th, 14th Grant Baylor, and Evan Smith rounding out the top 15 overall. The only riders completing now 3 laps of racing through this point.
Wild one, Johnny, and early, and we're already seeing bikes and riders in the pits, and maybe it's not the announcer's jinx, okay? I said they maybe get tired in that 3rd hour. I think it's happening sooner than that. Zach Herron is on his way to the pits. A lot to report on down there. See if we can find out what's going on right here.
Looks like
back on the bike. Back on the bike.
looking like he's going to head back out and try to gain some points, get himself up in the mix. A heartbreaker nonetheless. We'll see if we can get the details of exactly what that was all about. But still a big-time bummer for him. Looks like we've got Jackson on camera here.
Yeah, hey, Johnny. I'm down here at this next camera shot hoping to catch our pros making their way through, but, man, it is rocky as it can be. This is a lot different than what I was seeing earlier this weekend when I was here. These rocks are really sticking out. You can see from this section, there's some rocks if these riders hit. Here we come. Stu Baylor going to take the line I'm talking about, and no trouble for him. He is over and out. And now here we go. Mike Wachowski going to make his way through. Choosing that same line as Stu Baylor did, avoiding that big jagged rock. And a big gap here from Wachowski.
So we do
and there
know
it is, Caleb Russell.
So did KR pit.
He may be another no pit.
so Zach Heron, if you hear us, man, swing by AmPro as well and just see if... And that was that Craig?
No, that was Ricky Russell,
Ricky.
then Grant Davis, then Ben Kelly.
Hey, Johnny, jump back in, stop by AmPro and see what?
See if you can find out if Caleb Russell pitted, because he made up several positions in quite a bit of time there, so we're guessing he may have bypassed the pit this lap.
Copy that. Hey, guys, I am down here at the Flat Rock Gas team. Just saw Jordan Ashburn having to pull in. Take us through exactly what happened and what you guys saw.
Well, beginning of the last lap, I guess he went down when he was trying to get around Stu, and luckily he made it through the lap, but the left radiator went out, but we got it in, got it out, and see what we can do.
As far as you guys are concerned, everything's good to go from here on out?
We're all good.
All right.
We're back.
There we go. I love to see it. Jordan Ashburn back at 100%.
So that is Jordan's mechanic, Jamison Grinder, and shout out to those guys. We're thinking it was a quick service. Guys, that was a radiator change. You want to talk about how good these guys are at their job. Everybody, all hands on deck. They got that radiator changed, and Jordan still out there likely inside the top 20 overall. Impressive, Mikey.
Yeah, he's been doing, his mechanic been doing this a while, and on the GNCC side.
Yeah, he's a journeyman mechanic, been with many teams over the years. I get to spend some time with him typically overseas for the 6 days. Great guy, very knowledgeable, cool under pressure. Yeah. That's what you need for a mechanic.
He's always chill.
They do the job, man. When everybody else is hyped up and yelling, we need to do this, they're just tuning it out, and they're just doing the work.
Hey, guys, jumping back in, just get word. Caleb Russell did not pit. One word from the team, strategy.
All right. Well, hey, strategy at play. I think they watched the ATV race yesterday. Johnny taking some notes. But, yeah, they feel like they can stretch it out. Johnny, you made this point yesterday on the ATV side. I'm going to assume it correlates to the two-wheel side in that this track compared to others, these guys are not using as much fuel as they normally would.
Sure, and I think track position different, but still valuable here today. Yesterday, very obvious, Walker Fowler made that choice to not pit despite his crew waving him in because he wanted to make that pass on Jay Shadron because track position, very difficult to pass. These guys not having problems passing, I think for Caleb Russell it's a strategy because he was falling back and then kind of able to match the pace of the leaders the last couple laps. So maybe he's thinking if he can kind of stay in sight with those guys, kind of find that pace, find that flow, take a quick splash of fuel and get right back to it versus just kind of having to muddle around and try to still struggle to find that pace. He's just seeming to be gaining a little bit of confidence each lap and looking better and better. So it's a power move if it works. It worked yesterday for Walker Fowler. Didn't grab the win, but ultimately changed up the face of the race by quite 12, actually.
I guess we just said.
But we did see lapped riders come big into play there, like we're seeing on screen. Stu Baylor struggling to get around a lap rider there, and he did have, by my count in our last camera shot, 8 seconds was the gap over Mike Wachowski. Again, we've talked about it before. That's about the time of an average pit stop. Yep. So Wachowski not really giving up any time, at least from our last camera shot. He has fueled. Stu Baylor will have to fuel this next lap unless he has figured out something where he's got the never-ending refueling supply on that Red Bear Rocky Mountain ATV MC Kawasaki, because he surely can't go more than 2 hours, which is what it would be if he were to try and do 5 laps.
So for Stu, obviously we can't speak to his strategy. He knows, maybe we don't, but to sit here and speculate, do you think he's doing this because, hey, I got to run away and hide, I got to build a gap on those XC2 guys? Or is it, what's the play?
Maybe he's just feeling comfortable.
Okay.
And a lot of times when you pit, you can kind of lose your flow. And like you said, he's not been able to gap Mike Witkowski yet. Maybe he figured by doing that he could. Well, so far the strategy not paying off because Mike Witkowski right there matching it. And again, Caleb Russell as well has made up some time. He is now just about 20 seconds behind your lead group. Ricky Russell, though, back on the charge. And here comes Grant Davis and Ben Kelly, the Red Bull FMF, Grant Davis riding for that Landers Racing KTM team, but those KTM teammates hooked up and they are pushing the pace, getting ever so much closer to the front of the pack.
It's been a fun one to watch, man. Look at this rock section, absolutely insane. There goes the 198 of Liam Draper, followed by the 342 of Craig DeLong. I mean, the rock sections through here, almost looking snowshoe-esque, Johnny.
Yeah, challenging for sure.
All right, we are going to take a short commercial break. We've got a good one going on. Stu Baylor, your leader, Mike Witkowski in the 2 spot, and, Caleb Russell in 3rd place as far as the XC1 is concerned. The XC2's in the mix. How's it all going to play back? We'll get a word from our sponsors and be right back with more from the Old Gray GNCC.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that.
This reminds me of my bike.
The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie. Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan.
How about that? I was just going to be quiet. Let Zach Heron serenade the folks at home on Racer TV. Look at that. He's got a girlfriend, ladies, so you keep it to yourselves. I will tell Chandler. But no, Zach Heron played some live music last night, putting on a show for the fans out there. Under the Stars, man, that's pretty cool. That's as cool as it gets, courtesy of Landers KTM, helping put that on. And, of course, Zach up there on the Mobile Entertainment Activation Transport. And then we had, in the eyes of anybody under the age of 5, maybe older, the main event of the weekend. We're talking Stasic Racing. I want to give a shout-out to, obviously, Judd Poindexter. Normally our man George Murphy as well, not with us this weekend, but and Griff Cotter. Griff does such an incredible job keeping these kids engaged and putting on a show. And, of course, our man Ricky Towery. But the Stasic race, it's interesting. Anytime at a race weekend, rider goes down. Oh, they have to adjust a bottleneck. That's good stuff. But anytime I'm up at rider registration, we have parents come up and they say, hey, how much is it and how do I sign up for the Stasic race? If you've never been to a GNCC and your kid's got a Stasic, here's how you get signed up for it. You show up. You have a Stasic. There's 2 rules. You got to have the closed-toed shoes. You got to be under a certain age, obviously, and you got to have a helmet. That's it. Other than that, you're ready to roll. And once in a while, a Stasic is given out.
I was just going to say, do you have to have a Stasic?
That's also true.
We do see some striders out there, kids just kind of getting their legs underneath them. And sometimes certain events, you never know, it's a surprise. The race organizers and Stasic themselves will often give away a Stasic to a lucky recipient. And it's just, what we're doing here is we're cultivating the joy for racing. We're cultivating the joy for competition, and these kids absolutely having a blast. On screen,
the fastest man on the track.
The fastest man on the track, 2 laps in a row, was the number 99 of Cody Barnes. Man, he is on rails right now, looking really good. Up there in that 3rd place spot, not only in the XC2, but in the overall, and fastest rider on track 2 laps in a row.
Yeah, Cody Barnes, just a great ride. And speaking to him in the pre-race report, as we watch Stu Baylor roll through here, I told Cody, I was like, man, if this were any other season in GNCC, you would be a major topic of conversation just with the success you've had in these overalls, etc. I said, but with guys in the XC2 pulling off overall wins, you and Angus Reardon have kind of been slighted to no fault of their own, not necessarily to our fault. Caleb Russell rolling through right here, but Cody acknowledged it. It doesn't bother him, but he's putting it on display yet again. Cody Barnes, why he deserves to be talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Grant Davis, we've talked about him a lot. Ben Kelly, we've talked about him a lot. And Ricky Russell, we've really talked about him a lot today because he's been on a mission. Man, a lot of riders going fast today, but there's also been a lot of heartbreaks out there.
And I believe our man Zach Heron standing by with Josh Toth. Get some information on that.
Hey, yeah, guys, thanks. Never the stories we like to report on, but unfortunately, Josh Toth, you were running up inside that top 5, top 3 overall. Now we find you here under the Rocky Mountain Red Bear tent. Just take us through what happened.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just lost the front end there. I felt good. I was catching back up, but lost the front, and ended up kind of just wrapping myself around a tree, and got my ribs pretty good, and yeah, I was coughing up some blood, and so yeah, took a little bit to catch my breath, and yeah, fortunately my team was there pretty quick, and yeah, just to get me out of the woods.
Well, best of luck to you, Josh. Get healed up, and we'll see you again soon.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Josh Toth, unfortunately, out of this one here at round 5.
Yeah, that is as a man dejected right now, and rightfully so. Grizzly Grant moving through right there. Great day and a big welcome back to Grant Baylor, doing really well today.
You know, I think that interview, though, just shows you just how tough GNCC racers are. He's sitting in a chair with likely damaged, whether it's bruised or broken ribs. Said he coughed up a little blood. You can see blood running down his arm.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're not, you know, he's not being attended to by 50 people. He's saying, hey, guys, just let me catch my breath. If we need medical attention, we'll handle that. Obviously, they do take that very seriously. Yeah. We've talked about many times. We have the SOS team here, Dr. Tanner and the safety on site. We do take rider safety very seriously, but you almost got to, like, twist these guys' arm to get medical attention because they're so tough. They're like, tis a mere flesh wound, you know. It's, you see a lot of times in professional sports, you get a stubbed toe, and it's like, we're gonna have to shut the game down. Yes. These guys are just like, no, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. I'll be back here to do battle. Stu Baylor looking like he's opened it up a little bit over Mike Wachowski. It was just a few seconds when we saw them in our last camera shot, and now it is much, much more. We may need to go to OPAG and see if we had a new leader, or did we miss Mike Wachowski?
Maybe. There is Caleb Russell, the 5.57. You know, Johnny, while we wait on some clarification or was that him?
Okay, we did see a rider just go through there. I wasn't sure if that was Wachowski on the left. We did see on the right side of the screen Ricky Russell. Then we saw Grant Davis. That other rider may have been Ben Kelly because he was right in the mix as well. I did not see Mike Wachowski. If you're a Phoenix Honda Racing fan or Mike Wachowski fan, please, folks at home, we're race announcers. We're just calling what we see on screen. We are talking at times. We may have missed him. He may be in the lead for all we know. Here comes the 198 of Draper. Then it is Craig DeLong on the 342 Rockstar Husqvarna. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. We'll have another camera shot here in just a moment at the 7, and we will confirm if we maybe have a new leader.
Strang. Okay. Getting reports as Cody Barnes rolls through, and it looks like we're getting reports that maybe Wachowski out in front. We'll get some confirmation when we get our eyes on that, though.
And see, that would be big if he's out front because he's already pitted.
Correct.
The two riders behind him, Stu Baylor and Caleb Russell, did that to get track position. If Mike Wachowski was not only able to take the lead, but after pitting, he's going to have an even bigger gap once he bypasses the pits and those guys have to stop. He's going to gain about somewhere between 8 and 10 seconds on both of those guys.
Well, while we speculate on who is in position number 1, I was able to talk to the folks over at Red Bull FMF KTM regarding the number 1 of Johnny Girard. They said, Johnny, woke up this morning, felt a little bit woozy, just didn't quite feel right. Immediately went over to the SOS tent, talked with Doc Tanner. Doc Tanner advising him if it was me, I wouldn't go out there and race. Johnny went back, conferred with the KTM group. They all decided together we're going to sit this one out. So Johnny, not being forced not to race, but ultimately making that decision. Health got to come first here. I heard you guys just talking about it. Safety, number 1 here at GNCC.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of common knowledge at this point that was his reason for pulling out of the last race.
Yeah.
Didn't actually, from my understanding, didn't actually have a crash, hit his head on a tree limb possibly, or something happened that aggravated a previous concussion, causing him to not feel right on the motorcycle, making the smart decision and saying, okay, we're going to live to fight another day. We're not going to go out there and sometimes when your head's not right, it can lead to even more crashes. Smart decision on behalf of Johnny Girard and the team there. And, it's a heartbreaker for the race, and at this point, it's really starting to look like it may factor into the season now. With this will be his third race of no points scored in the first 5 rounds. But defending champion, you can never count him out. At that point, if he's able to make it back for our next race, he's going to be on a mission to try to win races. And hey, man, we don't give away championships until round 13. Anything can happen. He's going to try to get himself fully healthy to be back in the fight, to fight for race wins, get himself back in the championship hunt if he can.
Well, and on top of that, Mikey, you even touched on it earlier, the fatigue and the mistakes that
that's Ashburn. I knew what you were getting at.
That was Bukowski for a split second. Jordan Ashburn. Go ahead, Zach.
But to your point, the mental clarity and the mental toughness that these guys have to have. 2 hours into battle, even somebody, no concussions, no bumps or bruises. Go ahead, John.
Sorry to break in here, guys. I just got a text. Mike Wachowski broke down. He is not in the lead. He is out of the race. Mike Wachowski is broke down. This is a very reliable source. I won't reveal it, but coming right from someone at Phoenix Racing Honda. He is some type of mechanical issue. We'll see if we can get word officially, but Mike is out of the race, at least for now.
That is an absolute heartbreaker. Zach Aaron's going to make his way down to the pro pit, see if he can get maybe a word in with Mike Wachowski. But back to the Johnny Girard thing. I spoke with our executive producer, our boss, Carrie Jo Russell, and she said, Mikey, I just want to make sure, because I know there were some comments in Racer TV, hey, what's going on with Johnny? She said, I don't want you guys to speculate on it. It is a serious injury with concussions. She's like, so let's get the word from them. So that's where that delay was at. We wanted to make sure Johnny Girard and KTM were able to speak on that behalf instead of us just kind of speculating. So there you go.
And guys, we're race enthusiasts, Mikey and Jackson, and obviously Zach are professional announcers. I'm just a former racer. So we're here to hype up the races. We're here to tell you about what we see on screen, and oftentimes we'll give our opinions on things. Sure. But when it comes to rider safety, when it comes to these guys' careers and their livelihoods and the professionalism that goes along with it, we want to let them speak for themselves. Yes, we like to kind of throw a little fuel on the fire if we're talking about riders jawing at each other or a battle. But when it comes to something serious like this, we want to get the facts straight. We want to let them speak for themselves. So great that KTM was able to step up and let us know what's going on. And I'm sure at some point Johnny will be able to speak on the matter. I'm sure an emotional moment for him, having to make that very tough decision. That big number 1 on the plate, you on the bike, you work so hard for that. Ben Kelly to the lead. Caleb Russell in second, we're told.
Ooh.
Ricky Russell in third. Grant Davis in fourth. And we have not seen Stu Baylor.
Oh, no.
There is Stu Baylor. So what a shakeup at the front.
Is he going to?
We got a problem. Shifter issue.
So I'm going to guess Stu is going to be coming into the pits.
Stu's going to have. Well, he's going to have a pit for fuel anyway.
Letting the crew know, hey, we've got some extra things we're going to have to take care of. And as you said, Johnny, looked like a shifter situation right there.
So there we go. Ben Kelly, just like that, we talk about Ben Kelly starting to gain some momentum, and he leapfrogs all the way to the front of the pack. Just behind him, the 5.57 of Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot. And how quickly things change. We had a Mike Wachowski, Stu Baylor battle for the lead. Now we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rider physical battle. But that's another thing we need to talk about right there.
Baylor.
That big green number 1. He's going to have approaching a 1-minute lead on corrected time because he is just behind these guys. Stu Baylor, we are expecting to have, you can hear by the bike lugging. He's obviously stuck in a pretty tall gear. They're going to have to come in and do what I'm guessing to be a shifter change. We'll get confirmation, but he was looking down, and they're definitely going to be doing some work on that machine when he comes in.
So if we anticipate shifter change, Johnny, how quick is that on the Cowie compared to maybe the Austrian brands or the Yamaha?
I mean, each bike is different. Some have a center mount bolt that just slides onto a spline. Others have a pinch bolt setup where they would actually have to pull the bolt out, try to slide the shifter off of the splines. A good change would probably be 20 seconds or so. If it doesn't go smoothly, it could definitely take a lot longer. There's another rider we keep talking about. Cody Barnes is a little further back, but with the fastest lap on track 2 laps in a row, he's inching his way up closer to the front positions in that XC2 class. Was third last lap, and I believe Gus Reardon was still ahead of him there.
So, yes.
So he is still in that number 3 spot, but he is closer now. He was 7 seconds behind last lap. So those guys still in touch with Grant Davis. Last lap it was 25 seconds. It was 16 seconds the previous lap. So they're still putting a pretty good pace in there. And Grant Baylor motoring around out there, and with all the attrition and all the chaos, up solidly inside the top 10 in that XC1 class.
And another shout out for Grant Baylor, as you'd mentioned, first race for him this season, coming off an injury. It's one thing to go out there and compete when you can key off the guy in front of you or you've got pressure behind you. Grant's kind of been on an island by himself today and still very in the conversation and relevant, doing well out there.
Hey, the guy can ride a dirt bike.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
Now we see Evan Smith, the 347 and Pro Yamaha. So, man, what a shakeup. New physical leader. They should be working their way closer to the finish line. We'll have a shot of that coming here soon. But the big 5.30, the 530 KTM of Ben Kelly out front, leading the way. Here comes DeFeo, still inside the top 5 in that XC2 Pro Lights class. A former overall winner already this season at round 1. Trying to work his way back towards that top 5. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe he's had a podium since then. Not an overall podium. Or not even a class podium, I'm sorry.
You're correct.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit of a challenge since winning round 1, but a good rebound for him here today, running in the number 5 spot in that XC2 class.
So taking a look here from the Yamaha Racing live drone as they make their way here through the woods, through that patch that you were talking about the vines being in, Johnny, and now seeing Ben Kelly. Is that Ben Kelly?
It is. Leader on screen, Ben Kelly leading the way. Caleb Russell in second. Jackson, you stepped out, but obviously you heard we did have Stu Baylor with a shifter issue. We did see Mike Witkowski depart from the race with a mechanical issue. So the top 2 both having issues on lap number 4, and we've got a new lead duo. Former champion Ben Kelly, our 2021 champion and last round winner, overall points leader, and then Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot physically, but just behind them, you can't see him off camera, is Grant Davis on the KTM machine as well from that XC2 Pro Lights class, who will be leading the way on corrected time. But this is the battle for the physical lead between Ben Kelly and Caleb Russell.
Yeah, exactly what we expected coming into the day. A wild day here at the Specialized Old Gray as we continue to watch Ben Kelly out front. And Johnny, no doubt about it, Ben Kelly, there that last race, he was able to do it. He was able to track him down on that last lap. He was able to cut the time down. Be interesting to see what he can do here today.
Yeah, and he was the rider that was able to push the pace. He and Liam Draper started going fast enough that they were able to gain time back on Grant Davis, gain time back. They consistently did that lap after lap until they were able to wrestle the overall corrected time lead away. Ben Kelly checking in. We'll be interested to see the lap time here. Okay, back down into the 25s. They were all in the 26s last lap. The big push from Ben Kelly with a 25.46. Caleb Russell also into the 25s with a 25.56, and then going back 25.56, actually 26.01 for Grant Davis. So both Ben Kelly and Caleb Russell faster, but Grant Davis still maintaining that overall lead with an elapsed time of 1:41.21, meaning he has 58 seconds to the good over Ben Kelly, holding that overall lead.
Yeah, just over the halfway mark in this one. It is going to be hard to make up 59 seconds, no doubt, but I wouldn't put anything past these guys up at the front right now, Ben Kelly and Russell.
Here we're going to see the pit for Russell. He did not pit last lap, so he's going to want to get in and out very quickly to try to continue to chase after. He is going to give up a spot. I believe that may have been Ricky Russell going by.
And there was Davis making his way through.
Got a couple lap riders in the mix as well. So that will drop him to 3rd in the XC1 class and 4th physically on the racetrack. Actually, yeah. Okay, so Angus Reardon has checked in now in the number 2 spot overall, 48 seconds behind our overall leader. This is what we're going to find out exactly what's happening here, Jackson. They're working on something down. It's not a shifter.
And trying to listen there, see if we can hear anything.
Sounded
from
like
Baylor.
He said, do the hose. This may be another radiator swap.
So right now, working on that shifter. We'll see if they're going to mess with the radiators here. And they definitely are. They're actually messing with the radiator right now.
Yep, so it wasn't a shifter. It's a radiator swap. We've already seen Jordan Ashburn have to do one of these. Guys, this is, man, that's going to be some hot work they're doing there with the hot radiator. He has busted the radiator and or the hose. This is going to be a very costly pit stop for Stu Baylor. Man, Zach Herron is brave going right up.
Tried to make a break. Got a cushion, had a lapper take me out there around the 7. And, yeah, man, some of these guys are ignorant. I get they pay the bills, and I get this is what it's about. But Jesus Christ, we're racing for a living. Get out the track when you hear us. I promise I'm cordial. Most people will tell you I'm a pretty good sport when it comes down to it, but it's ridiculous. I've had a lot of run-ins today, and, man, guy wrapped my radiator up in his back wheel, and looks like it put me way down. But we can come back from this as long as we get some coolant back in this bike.
Stu Baylor up for the challenge, guys. Sorry to cut you off. Had to get that.
No, thank you there from Zach Herron. Man, getting right in there with Stu Baylor.
Fearless. Zach Herron is like the honey badger of interviews. Goes right in there, gets in the mix. They're looking like they're already pouring coolant in. So maybe just a hose replacement. I don't know that they actually swapped the radiator. It looked like no, that's definitely not a new radiator. So it was just the hose that had to be swapped. A much quicker change than having to change the full radiator like we saw Jordan Ashburn have to do just a lap ago. Radiators.
Johnny, look at that steam pouring out of that machine as they try to add some more fluid to it.
You can see his mechanic down there, Garrett Ward. They're getting some zip ties going just for some extra assurance to make sure that hose stays on. And I think from our drone, we're seeing Ben Kelly on the 530 machine out front and leading the way in this one and starting to march away from the rest of the field. But just behind him, Grant Davis and Gus Reardon have him covered on corrected time right now.
And here we go. Stu Baylor going to mount that machine. Maybe. Here we go. He's making sure that there's fluid in it. So not quite. Back on the bottom of your screen. Still on Ben Kelly as he makes his way through. And he's definitely got himself a bigger lead than what we have saw in the last few camera shots, no doubt.
All right, so we're going to give a quick rundown here while we're watching Ben Kelly on screen. You can see on the left of your screen there, looking at the top, that's a little different than the live timing and scoring rundown of the top 16, at least overall, as they checked in. Grant Davis leading the way, Gus Reardon, both out of that XC2 class, first and second place in the overall. Then it's Ben Kelly and Cody Barnes dropping to fourth place in the overall, third in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Then Caleb Russell, Ricky Russell. Stu Baylor was in seventh, but what do you see in there?
Ricky Russell now has gotten up behind. He's the next rider behind Ben Kelly. Then we see Davis. Now we see Caleb Russell making his way through.
Yep, that was so Ricky made that pass when Caleb pitted there.
Oh, okay.
And there is the battle on screen over the final podium positions, and now back to Ben Kelly out front. But back there behind Stu Baylor, Liam Draper in 8th, Craig DeLong 9th, Josh Strang 10th, Nick DeFeo out of that XC2 class would be 4th in that XC2 class. Has moved up a position there, obviously with Josh Toth having some issues. 11th place overall, and Grant Baylor 12th place overall, which will actually move him up to 11th now with his big brother Stu obviously losing a bunch of time. We see Craig DeLong on screen, and then comes our second place XC2 rider of Gus Reardon charging, trying to track down Grant Davis. And then Liam Draper on the 198 Ampro Yamaha running solidly inside the top 10 overall in that 8th place spot.
And a ton of changes happening here in this one as we see Cody Barnes now making his way through, followed by Josh Strang there on board that number 7 beta machine.
Yeah, Strang looking good. I think this is the best we've really seen out of him. I don't know position-wise that he's going to be super pumped with it, but looking just at the finishes themselves, he had an 11th at round 1 and an 11th at round number 4. Right now, showing to be in the number 10 position, but we know he is going to move up a spot with Stu Baylor having his issues. So up into the number 9 spot overall for Strang, and well in touch with the riders in front of him with the potential to gain a few more positions as well, Jackson.
Yeah, back on screen here we see Ben Kelly. He's starting to pull away, but Johnny, that's exactly what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to pull away by a lot as Grant Davis is slowly but surely right there with Ricky Russell about to make that move. And if Davis can get around Ricky Russell, it's going to be hard for Ben Kelly here in this one.
Well, keep in mind, Grant Davis was already ahead of Ben Kelly for 2 laps and actually was out of sight on him. Ben has tracked him down, made the pass, and started to pull away. So while he does still need to make a whole bunch of time, his pace right now obviously is proving to be faster than his KTM teammate Grant Davis, because he was in several camera shots, wasn't even in sight of Davis. Davis was completely out of sight and had pulled away from him. Ben Kelly riding into his comfort, kind of figuring out the track and just getting faster and faster as this race goes on. So he's going to be the rider to watch, I think. How much time is he able to pull back on Grant Davis?
And he's still got plenty of time to do it, though. An hour and 50 minutes into this approximately 3-hour race. Johnny, have we got the official word on the laps yet?
I don't believe we have. We'll have to reach out to race control and see if we can get that information passed along to us. Quick little update. We've got a couple of our top overall amateurs checked in. Gavin Simon leading the way in this one out of the 258 class, 15th overall. And Chase Lander, 16th overall, hometown boy, 25 seconds behind. And then JoJo Cunningham also inside the top 20 overall in that number 17 spot. Those guys do push back. Jordan Ashburn, we said he was in 16th overall. He's all the way back to 19th now. But still, with Jordan, that's a pretty good recovery for a radiator change last lap to still be in the top 20 and potentially scoring some points.
Yeah, that's a great recovery from him. I actually got to talk to some of the fans out there. Everybody wanting to know where Jordan Ashburn is. But right now, we're watching Ben Kelly once again on screen. I believe we were actually able to catch up with Ben Kelly earlier today.
Yeah, I think I've been the most consistent, I guess. Still had some up and down races, but...
All right, back to what we see on screen at the three. At the 3-mile marker, it is Ben Kelly leading the way. Ricky Russell in the number 2 spot. Grant Davis just behind him in 3rd. That is your top 3 on the racetrack as they run. And here comes Caleb Russell on the 557 and Pro Yamaha in the number 4 spot physically, 3rd place in XC1. And those guys all just hooked up, pushing the pace. Man, they are really charging, trying to get back up to our leader, Ben Kelly, Jackson.
Yep, and it does sound like we have that interview with Ben Kelly now.
Yeah, I think I've been the most consistent, I guess. Still had some up and down races, but yeah, it's wild. The XC2 guys are right there in the mix with XC1, and you know, some of the heavy contenders and like the guys I would call championship guys in XC1 have had some bad rounds and some bad luck, so they're pretty far back there. But yeah, still early in the season. Just gonna keep doing my thing and try to win some more races and just always be on the podium.
Well, right now he's doing his thing as he tries to track down this invisible time that's in front of him here with the XC2 just behind him. I think we were actually able to catch up with him about the XC2 class.
I mean, yeah, you know quite a bit. Like for someone like that who has 1 overalls from the 2nd row, it's something we just talk about with the team and are like prepared for now. So yeah, it's not a big deal, you know. Kind of later in the race, it kind of like settled in, and then you know, I could slowly start chipping away at that. And yeah, it's just one more thing you got to think about now. You know, you got to race the guys in your class, but you got to know that the XC2 guys are coming for you. So yeah, just look for the pit boards and yeah, make a good plan with your team so that you could be on top of it.
Well, he's trying to execute that plan right now for Ben Kelly. And, Johnny, I did get the official word. 7-lap race is what we have on our hands.
All right, so we've got 3 more to go with 4 down. Man, that he's talking about those pit boards, the communication with the team, having a plan, trying to execute. You know, all that goes out the window once the adrenaline starts flowing. But at the same time, that information is valuable because at some point in the race, you're never going to give up. But yeah, we see now Grant Baylor on screen. I thought that was Stu coming for a minute. We will have him shooting by the camera here pretty quickly, see if he can try to get himself back up into a top 20 position to salvage some points. But if you're in Ben Kelly's position, you know right back there behind you is Grant Davis. Obviously, if you can see him behind you, you know you've got to make up a whole bunch of time. But you're kind of in no man's land when you can't see the rider behind you, or if you're Grant Davis, you can't see the rider in front of you. You're relying on the information that is relayed to you from your pit crew, and it kind of tells you if the effort that you're putting in, especially if you're kind of running that ragged edge on a track like today, you know, you can only fire so many shots before eventually you're going to have a misfire. And we've seen a lot of these guys on the ground. We've seen a lot of damaged machines. We've seen a lot of mechanical failures. So it kind of gives us that idea of how hard is Ben Kelly going to charge. Right now, as hard as he can. Later in the race, may have to decide if he's going to have to settle for second.
So it has been a wild one so far here at the Old Gray. Man, oh man, who's it going to be? Stu Baylor having a little bit of troubles after leading most of this one. Now Ben Kelly going to be the person that everybody is chasing after. But actually who they're chasing after is that man right there, the big number 1 machine of Grant Davis. We're going to see, can Ben Kelly close this time up here on these closing few laps? We'll be back here in just a minute on Racer TV.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Let's take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. But wait, there's more. You've got Progressive Campground. Scan the QR code on RacerTV.com right now. Get yourself a quote. Listen, if you're watching Racer TV, you probably race. You probably have a camper, an RV, something. Do yourself a favor. Scan that QR code. See if you can get a quote, or you will get a quote, and save yourself some money on insurance. Not a bad deal all around. Support those that support us here in racing and in GNCC. Progressive Insurance. Again, could save you hundreds of dollars on your camper insurance. Just saw at the FMF PowerPoint look like Caleb Russell buzzing by there on the 557 and Pro Yamaha.
That was Caleb Russell on the rear wheel of Ricky Russell.
Bingo,
as
yes.
well.
Russell and Russell.
Yeah, we saw that pass be made in the pits. Ricky Russell able to get around Caleb Russell when he did stop for fuel. Ricky had bypassed the pits because he had fueled the previous lap. Guys, looking at some elapsed times, it gets pretty interesting when you start looking at the overall top 5, 6, 7, 8 positions. When you talk about that corrected time, Grant Davis obviously has a pretty solid gap right now. He's with a elapsed time of 1:41.21. He has about 50 seconds on his closest competitor, which is actually 48 seconds on Gus Reardon in the number 2 spot overall. And just on cue, there is Reardon just ahead of Liam Draper out of that XC1 class. That is your second place rider in XC2 and overall. But from then back is where it kind of gets interesting. So 1 hour, 42 minutes, 10 seconds is the elapsed time of our second place overall rider, Gus Reardon. Then Ben Kelly with a 1:42.19. So only 9 seconds away from elapsing, getting back into that second place overall position. And then Cody Barnes only another 3 seconds back. Caleb Russell and Cody Barnes essentially tied on the same second, 0.3 of a second, and then only another 5 seconds back to Ricky Russell. So you want to talk about how interesting it is. We're talking about a matter of basically 9 seconds separating 5 riders once you throw the time correction in there between second all the way back to 6th in the overall.
I love it. It's ridiculous. Very similar to what we saw. There was a pretty good pack there in the ATV side yesterday with a similar situation. Front guys running away, but outside of that, it was just tight all around.
Well, and if we could be so lucky 2 days in a row, we saw that race actually come back together on the last lap. There is our leader, Ben Kelly, out front, and that is not the gap to our second place rider. He has opened it up a bit. We will be looking for, we believe, Grant Davis, and there he is. So he's definitely still got the lead on time correction, but physically second on the racetrack, and he is now pulled away from the 212 of Ricky Russell and the 557 of Caleb Russell. So Russell versus Russell here, battling over what would be 4th place overall. Currently, again, in the mix of about 5 seconds separating second from 6th overall. 8 seconds, but still, it's really close.
So taking a look at your overall elapsed time there, Grant Davis, the 1:41.21, 1:42.19 for Ben Kelly. So Yeah, Davis in control of this right now, and got to think maybe with some clean air. I think Davis kind of is looking to make a statement as well. We know he does training there at Club MX with Ben Kelly and the rest of the KTM group as well, and I think Davis enjoys beating these guys physically. I think there's a little chip on the shoulder for him about it.
Well, if you remember at the end of Camp Coker, Ben Kelly grabbing the overall, what he said when he crossed the finish line, he said, you know, I'm impressed that I was able to grab the win today. There is Liam Draper, and I think just ahead of him was when we last saw was Gus Reardon, and there is Cody Barnes. So we know Gus Reardon is somewhere close, because where you see Cody Barnes, you always see Gus Reardon here in 2025. Those two are constantly battling over positions in that XC2 class. But Ben himself said, you know, I don't remember if he said I can't believe, but he said I'm happy I was able to beat Grant because he's been beating my butt every day practicing back at home at Club MX. You know, he beats me every day. So for, you know, Grant, or for Ben to pull out an overall, knowing that he's kind of fighting that, as Jackson called it, the invisible time battle, he seemed pretty pleased with that. And right now he's got about 50 some odd seconds, 58 seconds or so that he needs to make up to make that happen, to be able to do that again here today.
Well, and it's a unique dynamic here at GNCC. We talked about yesterday the Levi Cohen group and how close they are, the way they train together with Outlier Performance. Here you've got the KTM group. They do their training now over at Club MX. You've got the Oss Ranch there with Josh Strang and his group of riders. There's so many different riders that ride together, and they're friends during the week, but no friends right now out on course as we see Ben Kelly making his way through.
There you go, 2 hours and 22 seconds as he exit that camera shot there at the 7-mile marker. We'll see what the gap is back to. Not much.
Wow.
So he's got him down to about 11 seconds. He can see him there ahead of him, meaning he's got a gap of about 58, 59 seconds, because 1 minute and 9 seconds was the difference of start times for those two. Next back, we should see the 2:12 of Ricky Russell, and there he is. And then Caleb Russell, the 557 Ampro Yamaha, giving chase. That is second and third in the XC2 class, and third and fourth. Well, actually, fourth and fifth overall, because Gus Reardon coming back here in about another 45 seconds or so.
You know, something we've not touched on today is just looking at the point standings. Obviously, Ben Kelly coming in as the points leader. Prior to that, it was Grant Davis. If it ends right now, Grant Davis is going to have an advantage as we leave here. It was, what, 6? The difference coming into today between Ben Kelly and Grant Davis. And I bring that up because Grant was the one that was telling us, or Dad was telling us at the banquet, you know, he wants to win an overall championship from row 2. And we reacted like, okay, that's a lofty goal, and here we are into the meat of the season, and it's very realistic.
There you go. So, you know, the other thing, it's a point, well, Mike, you actually, he would, Ben Kelly, if it finishes like this, would still be the overall points leader.
Oh, you're right.
Because there is only a 5-point gap between first and second.
Yeah.
You know, whereas right now with a 6-point gap, he would maintain a 1-point gap going into the next round. But, you know, Ben Kelly not wanting to give up those 5 points. But on the flip side of that coin, Grant Davis desperately wanting to get those 5 points, you know, and it really comes down to, it's a long season, but all those points add up at the end of the season, and these two starting to distance themselves from the rest of the field. Looking back to that third place spot, which is Gus Reardon. He is another 9 points behind Ben Kelly there in the overall positions as they run coming into today. Sitting solidly in the number 2 spot, that'd be a good, well, actually, I guess we should say, I think at the pace Ben's going right now, I do think he's going to be ahead of Reardon at the end of this lap. If he's not, you would be correct. It would be a 9-point swing. But as they're going, the pace that Davis and Ben Kelly are pushing in, with only at the end of last lap, there was only a 9-second gap between Ben Kelly and Gus Reardon. I think Ben Kelly may be able to, and he's pulled a lot of time back. I think we may see him elapse Gus Reardon, but we won't know here for another couple miles.
And it did sound like race control letting us know that Grant is close. He thinks, was that Grant going down?
Grant is down.
Man, so look at that. That might be the announcer's curse. I don't know.
Oh, he's shaking his head.
Zach. Sorry.
Not happy about that one.
But still, you know, even with...
Look at that. Ricky Russell can now see Grant Davis ahead of him, so that's going to be a big carrot for him to chase.
And, yeah, still sounds like that gap a little less than 25 seconds. And we always talk about the heart rate jumping up there after you go down. He's got Ricky Russell right behind him, who has kind of fought off the charge from Caleb Russell. And Ben Kelly not going to be upset to hear he maybe got an extra couple seconds to play with there.
Silly as it sounds, this could be a gut check moment for Grant Davis right now. You know, he had Ben Kelly in sight. He could see him right there ahead of him. He makes that mistake. You can see the frustration with the head shake. Now he's got Ricky Russell behind him. Actually, now Ricky Russell's gotten around him.
Yep. Wow.
So that's going to put some additional pressure on Davis. Probably muddy gloves from picking up that machine. This is where he needs to reset. If he wants to keep himself in the mix, you know, he's still leading the overall on corrected time, but now he's got pressure from behind from Caleb Russell. So as quickly as things look like, oh, he's got this one in the bag, it's all shaken up. So, you know, a young rider, he's got a lot of composure. He's already won overalls. We've seen him do it last year. But the reality of it is, these are the kind of moments we don't normally get to see on camera.
Yeah, good point.
Where what happened there? He was, you know, he had it covered, and suddenly he doesn't. Whoever it may be, it can go both ways. But these are the moments where you got to just reset and say, okay, I've done it multiple times. I need to do it again. Let's go track him back down.
It's real easy to get into to quicksand, if you will. One mistake turning into another and another. Like we said, got to wonder whether maybe there was another bobble that allowed Russell to get back by him, because he was maybe 3 bike lengths in front of Russell when we saw him get back running. So
it's oftentimes hard when you have a crash like that. Something happens. It's hard to just go, boom, right back to race pace. You know, sometimes it takes a couple corners. Like I said, mud on the gloves, you know, maybe a little mud on the seat, because he went down. It wasn't like he just tipped over. He went down in the muddiest section of this racetrack. There is Gus Reardon on screen. That is your second place overall rider last lap. But look at this. Cody Barnes now right on his rear wheel. So that is second and what was 4th overall, and that just goes to show you how tight and how mixed up this whole jumbled battle is right now.
And those guys linked up with, was it Ricky Russell in front of them?
No, Ricky Russell
is Liam Draper. Excuse me.
Ricky Russell is up actually in the number 2 spot physically now. He has gotten back around Grant Davis physically, got around Caleb Russell when he pitted, and those 3 are kind of hooked up together, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on the racetrack.
Man, between the physical positioning, the adjusted time, we're going to need an extra whiteboard in here at the Race TV truck. We got to keep all this stuff straight.
My head looks like one of those things where you see the Egyptian hieroglyphics, you know, floating through the air. When you start talking about all this stuff, it's like, all right, keep it straight, keep your composure. But it is exciting. We're excited. Everybody at home obviously excited. It's awesome to see these battles and just these layers of the XC1 versus XC2, the guys battling within their class, and then overall, very, very exciting stuff.
Well, and it's really kind of introduced a new dynamic to GNCC racing at the top level, because we're kind of starting to get used to talk about XC2 riders on the overall podium. I remember how crazy we thought it was last year seeing Josh Toth get it done first, and then Grant Davis doing it twice. You see Ben Kelly getting hung up a little bit by a lap rider right there.
That was that section we were talking about yesterday. That proved costly for Bryson Neal at the end of the race, giving up about another 5-6 seconds just in that few 100 feet of racetrack. Very difficult for lapped riders to be able to get out of the way in there.
And you see Ben Kelly kind of tucking down underneath, looking to try to get a little bit of traction. Very hard packed in some of these wide open sections as well, avoiding a lot of those big powder berms. Looking clean right now, though, is not too much longer before we'll be checking in.
Tell you what, Ben Kelly is a rider that the rest of these guys do not want to allow to get momentum going. I mean, this guy, when he gets it going, can prove to be almost unbeatable. We saw him rip off 6 straight wins with massive time gaps at the beginning of 2022 before the big injury that set him back, and then it was a rebuilding process the end of 2023, or end of 2022, all of 2023, sitting out most of 2024 with what we later found to be additional challenges with those injuries. And now I think what we're seeing is a fully healthy, fully focused, ready to go Ben Kelly. Suddenly we're seeing a win at the last round, points leader, and now we're seeing him start to march away from the field. Again, Grant Davis still has him covered on corrected time, but with the mistakes starting to come in, Ben Kelly has an opportunity to really kind of put the finishing nails in the coffin on this one here, grab another win, and start to extend that points lead.
Checks in, 2-lap card is out, courtesy of Ricky Towery. And to your point, Johnny, you can see it in the way that Ben Kelly now carries himself and speaks about racing. You know, for the last few years, it was, I want to go feel it out, feel the bike out. Where do I stack up today?
I think
that's out the window.
I think we've seen another pass on Grant Davis. It looks like now, unless he got back around Ricky Russell, no, he did not, and he's losing time. So this is starting to add up now for Grant Davis. This is what we talked about. Now Caleb Russell trying to run it in and making the pass on Ricky Russell, starting to put in a charge, starting to look racy from the former 8-time champion. 2-lap board is out. 2 more laps around this very challenging racetrack with a now 33-second lead for Ben Kelly. Caleb Russell in the number 2 spot as Grant Davis checks in. He will still be your overall leader. Refresh. But that gap now down to 28, so 30, 22 plus 24 seconds is all the gap is. It was near a minute a lap ago, so that is a big shift in the overall lead right there. With an elapsed time of 26:06, Grant Davis, sorry, that was the lap time, 27:28, and Ben Kelly at 27:52. So again, 30, so just over 30 seconds actually.
There you see Caleb Russell making that move on Ricky Russell. Those two have been pretty locked together for most of this race. And back to the lead we go here with the Yamaha Racing Live drone.
You can see the dust really starting to kick up now. It's continuing to dry out. The wind's blowing. The sun is out. What started off as a beautiful racetrack starting to get dusty, hard-packed, and slick to go along with the wet and slick and rocky in the woods. It's just challenging the whole way around.
Yeah, I was just about to say, really starting to see that hard-packedness kind of reach up and grab these riders. You saw Ben Kelly tuck underneath the lap rider, got on the throttle, and the back end, that was slideways. That was 2AT, and so Kelly able to recover well, but just like we talked about earlier, not only are these conditions getting tough for the leaders, but the lap riders as well. Sometimes it's a mistake from somebody else that ends up costing you big time. As Ben got another rider just in front of him, going to try to find a way around, and it looked like maybe was able to find a way up the inside. There you see Liam Draper making his way through, also on that Ampro Yamaha. And Gus Reardon just behind with, as always, Cody Barnes pretty much attached.
And that is also our third and fourth place riders overall. With quick lap times from both of those guys, they are able to come in ahead of Caleb Russell and Ricky Russell. But as we kind of anticipated with that big charge from Ben Kelly, he takes away the second place overall position from Angus Reardon. He with a 25:33 lap time. Whew, that was a burner from Ben Kelly.
So Ben Kelly putting the hammer down as he takes the 2-lap card. Watching him weave his way through Monterey, Tennessee. And first time here as well for Ben Kelly. That's another interesting point. These guys, a lot of them getting to kind of feel things out last year. I know it was obviously a little different conditions, but not really sure what to expect rolling into the Old Gray this weekend. And definitely think he's liking what he's seeing so far. As you see, our last lap times up on chart, a 26:06 for Grant Davis, not the lap he was hoping to have. Meanwhile, Ben Kelly firing on all cylinders, a 25:33 for your race leader.
Craig DeLong finding his legs out there, 25:49. Solid run. But yeah, Ben Kelly, the big winner this last lap.
Guys, update from the Phoenix Racing Honda pits. I have a picture here. A rock knocked a hole in the cases of Mike Wachowski's Honda 450 there, and ultimately leaked out all the oil, causing the machine to be done for the day. That's a heartbreaker. Just going to show how quickly this track can jump up and grab you.
And it is a major heartbreaker. Mike probably, arguably having the best day of his, I would say, XC1 Pro career, arguably one of his best days.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben Kelly on screen, up on the pegs, passing lap riders. We've seen that be a challenge for, obviously, Stu Baylor, saying he pretty animated interview he gave you there, and that's emotion, and Stu's not shy about sharing that. He's very professional about it. But
I was nervous, to say the least. I let him get through the first sentence talking to just me, and then I said, you know what, the folks at home on Racer TV need to hear this as well. And Stu, an absolute professional, and don't get me wrong, he put those goggles back on, and the intensity was right back there. So he might be down. I know the crew there saying roughly about 2 minutes and 44 seconds, that whole stop. So they've got it timed down to the second. And Stu, as you heard right as he said goodbye, I'm up for the challenge.
Well, I've been trying to refresh here and see if we can get an update on exactly where Stu checks in. At least as of the last refresh, he had not yet checked in with 5 laps complete, so we don't have an update on his overall position. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. He has checked in now. In the number 12 spot overall yet. He came in, let's see here, he's 1 minute and 1 second behind his brother Grant, who's up into 11th place overall. So 12th place, still good solid points, and he has an opportunity to make up positions in the overall, potentially getting himself, he's only got to make a couple passes to get himself up into the top 10.
Wow, I think we just saw Grant Davis show up behind Craig DeLong.
I'm telling you, something's going on there. Wheels starting to fall off the bus. I don't know if it's a bike issue or just a frustration issue for him, but he's giving up time on screen pretty rapidly. Muddy gloves, something like that can go a long way. We'll see if it continues to trend that direction. And now look at that. He's going to have some company pretty quick in the form of the second place and third place riders in XC2, Angus Reardon and also Cody Barnes.
Yeah, you saw Andy Gray there on screen. Grant Davis's mechanic kind of looking around, and looks like some issues for Evan Smith now as well.
Looking like it's going to be a front brake system change for the 347 machine. Lucas Statham down there doing the work. They're going to swap in a new front brake system, quick change, and they will have him back out on track and running. He is in the number 16 spot, so up in the top 20 overall, still gaining points here today. If they can get him back on track quick enough, he may still be able to salvage some points.
You can hear the team communication there at the AmPro tent. It is it's basically a Chinese fire drill out there. I mean, when your rider comes in, it doesn't matter what team it is. AmPro, obviously one of the best when it comes to professionalism, having things prepared, and that shows right there how quickly they were able to get him off and rolling. And there it is, Evan Smith back off.
That's I don't, motorcycle mechanic school, they need to take GNCC pits and just like have an entire course on that. It's absolutely incredible.
We're going to work on getting the air wrench noises. So when those
we
guys
had a little bit there. You can hear the impact a bit.
Everything's electric nowadays.
You know me. I'm all about the senses. It's about the sound.
All right, on screen, the 530 machine out front trying to charge away. I can see a line change there. It's the track is continuing to develop. These riders are having to adapt lap to lap, and the rider that has done it best through the last couple laps of racing is Ben Kelly, going from physically outside the top 10 way back, again, behind Grant Davis. At one point, I believe even behind Angus Reardon, running outside. I think he was near the tail end of the top 20 at the beginning of this one, charging his way up, making passes physically and on corrected time, all the way up to the number 2 spot. And we'll try to get some gaps here, but we're looking at around the 30-second mark as they checked in, and we've seen Grant Davis give up quite a bit more time since then. So Ben Kelly may be riding his way towards what will be taking away that overall lead even after the time correction of 1 minute and 9 seconds.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say Ben Kelly, I know you never to doubt this guy, but I saw the start, I saw where he was, midway through lap 1 and was like, oh, this could be a long race, but the guy just seems to have things figured out. He knows what he needs to ask of himself. He's so good at managing the pace and almost predicting what the other riders are going to do, and man, just knows when to be there, and with 2 laps or less than 2 laps now to go, is in the right spot and still charging hard, where fatigue may be starting to set in for some of the other riders, as now we see Caleb Russell making his way through on the AmPro Yamaha.
And it looks like he's opened up just a few bike lengths over Ricky Russell on the 212 machine in about, by my count, 25-ish seconds, looking at the ticker there up in the corner of the screen. And then Grant Davis, remember, just a couple miles ago was right with those guys, and we could see how much time he's continuing to give up. We will wait and see what we find as far as the overall elapsed time. We'll see if we can get OPAG, our producer Adam Gordon, on it. But that is your second and third place riders. We're being told we're coming up on what might be Grant Davis dropping out of the overall lead, and Craig DeLong coming. Last we saw, Grant Davis was just behind him and still is. It's 1 minute 10 right there, so he's right on it. About 1 minute 10, minute 11, so about 2 seconds to the good for Ben Kelly, but Grant Davis still right there on the cusp of things. A couple good miles, a couple good laps, he could definitely still keep himself in this. But right now, we think, based off what we're seeing on screen, Ben Kelly has taken back the overall lead.
So there we saw a flash of Craig DeLong, and Grant Davis now going back as well. That looks a little more like old Grant Davis. Kind of saw the body English and the attack position, if you will, coming back. Seemed like there for just a minute, it seemed like Grant was almost trying to get himself back together.
Again, shout out to Josh Strang. He has latched onto that battle in XC2 over second and third in XC2, and he is now right on the back of Cody Barnes and Gus Reardon. Those guys battling over overall positions, overall podium positions, and podium positions in that XC2 class. Josh Strang on the Liqui Moly Beta has gotten latched on there, and he is giving them all they can handle there.
Yeah, he's got the tow rope out here on this one as we go back now to mile 3, our rock garden. Man, did you see Ben Kelly making his way through there? The speed that Kelly is carrying here today.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible to see what these guys are able to do, the balance that they have, and the unpredictability that you have with these rocks and the way they just seem to be ready for all of it. But certainly going to be exciting as less than 2 laps to go. Ben Kelly, he was out front physically, but was chasing Grant Davis on the clock until that happened. Grant Davis going down and in a tough spot as well. Might have gotten those gloves muddy. Certainly has stalled the momentum as Grant Davis now fighting to try to hang on to that overall lead. We'll see how it all shakes out. Coming up soon here on Racer TV.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back here on RacerTV.com, the specialized old gray GNCC. And we're back here at the 3-mile mark, the rock garden, if you will. Taking a look back at our specialized rapid replay, what we missed during commercial. There goes Ben Kelly making his way through and looking like not only your physical leader, but now possibly has taken over the overall lead on a lapse time as well. Grant Davis, things going from bad to worse. We saw that tip over Jackson, and sometimes it just takes that one mistake. It turns into 2, turns into 4. All of a sudden, things are slipping away from you.
Yep, and just take a look here at this gap that Ben Kelly has been able to open up as now we wait for our physical second place to come around, who we believe is going to be Caleb Russell, and I believe that was him starting to make it in the camera shot there. Now we're going to jump to mile 5, and that was him.
Oh,
man.
Ben Kelly, what a kick. Oh, my goodness.
That was the exact section that Johnny was saying that
we got to get that
give
on
all
replay.
These riders problems. Man, what a ride Ben Kelly just took.
Wow, OPAG, I'm sure getting that queued up. That was, I mean, Ben Kelly might want to sign up for a bull riding competition after this, being able to hang on to the KTM. Coming through that, and we've seen him take that exact line, Jackson. This is how much things change from lap to lap. You put a couple hundred bikes in the same line, best believe kickers are going to emerge. Watch this, folks. Ben Kelly coming in, hang on to it, goes for a ride, feet off the pegs. An impressive save from Ben Kelly right there.
Absolutely, and that's where that height really comes into play and to his advantage. You know, if that would have been one of our shorter riders, Caleb Russell, or let alone, could you imagine if that was Craig DeLong?
I knew it was coming.
That bike would have been in the next county. But Ben Kelly able to just kind of dab and be on his merry way. But wow, yeah, nice save for sure there from Ben Kelly. That is very slick down there. That's, similar to the situation where we saw, obviously, Grant Davis go down. Yep. It's just one little miscue there, and you're picking your bike up.
Well, and it seems like that's one of those spots, too, where once you commit to the line, that's the line you're going on. And so still waiting here on Grant Davis. It should be Craig DeLong right there at the top of your screen. We'll see. And right on cue, Grant still just a couple of bike lengths behind him, but not really pushing the pace to try to get around DeLong. Didn't seem like that crash was something that would have physically, injured Grant Davis, but it's just so hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, it sure is, unless you're able to talk to him. You never know what happened, what could have happened. I mean, possibly hitting something on the bike. There's so many different things that could have happened during that, and it might not be it. I mean, look at that bike going down right in front of our camera there.
Hang on to it.
This guy's been trying to get up this hill since we came to this shot, telling you just how challenging this section of racetrack is. Again, it's deceiving.
But Johnny talked about aggravation going into it, and he very well could be aggravated after that one. There we see the rest of our XC2 top 3.
Gus Reardon, Cody Barnes losing just a little bit of time. Cody kind of playing offense and defense. He's got Josh Strang breathing down his neck, and so got to be a little protective there. Maybe it has to do with why he's lost a bike or so against Gus Reardon.
I'll actually come in on the opposite side of that one. I don't think Josh Strang is looking to make a pass on those guys. Okay. I think this is just my...
He's towing from those guys.
He's taking the tow that's available to him. He's happy to ride their pace. Now, later in the race, obviously we're coming down to the end of it here, but if he does feel he has more pace, he'll start showing those guys a wheel. Right now, I think he's just sitting back there. Obviously, also keep in mind that rider that is in the number 2 spot in the XC2 class, a training partner of his there at Oss Ranch, and fellow Australian, good buddies. So he's probably not going to interject himself into the mix in that battle, but right now he's happy to be running that pace and get towed along.
Well, he was closer to Cody Barnes, so, if he wanted to get in the mix, he could help his buddy out, but we'll have to wait and
Josh
see.
is a pretty...
No, he's professional all the way through.
He's professional as it comes, and, former series champion, multi-time race winner. He knows what it's like when you have those battles going on, somebody that isn't in your class, but at the same time, it's a little different with these guys because they are battling for overall positions as well. If Josh feels he can go forward and those guys are stunting his progress, we might see him get a little racy, but right now he looks like he's happy to have the tow and happy to be running their pace.
And guys, take a look at this as we look at this mud hole here at mile 5, where Ben Kelly went for his ride at. Those are rocks that these riders are going through, and some big ones at that, well over the foot pegs here, and they're on both sides. These riders having just a narrow line to go through. That is a rock there on that left side. That is what I believe Ben Kelly hit that caused him to do that, because you saw him pick up the front end and that back end kicked over. That's exactly what we're talking about with these edges of these rocks and not being necessarily lined up with the way that these riders are going.
Well, and to your point, Jackson, is now there we see Stu Baylor out on course. Oh, excuse me, that's Grant Baylor.
Yeah, and Stu was about 1 minute and 1 second behind him when they checked in last lap. So we'll see what kind of a gap he's been able to make up. We know that is overall positions and overall points that he is fighting for. Every position he's able to make up, 1 additional point at this point, sitting back there in that number 12 spot in the overall.
Yeah, and to your point, Jackson, as we see that rider right there taking essentially the same line as Ben Kelly. Got to wonder if maybe Ben slipped off the pegs or something. We usually did not see him sitting down through there, and I think that had to do with the big kick that he got, as there we see T-Rex, Nick DeFeo.
That is our 4th place rider in that XC2 Pro Lights class, and expect to see his team leader coming soon. There he is right behind him.
Stu Baylor making his way through on the 514, and he's holding on. He's on his way through.
Trying to make up time, trying to get back to his brother, Grant. He's going to need to get around Nick DeFeo and make up 1 minute and 9 seconds before the checkered flag flies in this one if he wants that overall position. Nick DeFeo currently sitting in that 10th place spot in the overall. Pretty big gap up to Josh Strang there for that number 9 spot, but maybe just possibly that and every seat. So the battle of the radiator swaps. Jordan Ashburn just behind Stu Baylor. Stu Baylor actually doing a radiator look like hose repair. Jordan Ashburn swapping a full radiator, and both those guys back out on track and sitting at least last lap. Baylor in the number 12 spot and Jordan Ashburn in the number 16 spot on corrected time.
So, Johnny, we talked about it earlier, might get to see the Baylors go head-to-head today. We thought it was going to be at the front of the pack, but it still looks like we're going to get to see the battle of the Baylors here today.
Yeah, it's looking like it may shape up. Stu's got about another, close to a minute that he needs to make up, but with still about a lap and a half of racing action left, he's on a mission. He knows he's got to get max points here today. What are available to him? Not looking like he's going to be able to fight his way back up inside the top 5 by any means, but if he can get closer to the top 10, every point counts.
Well, you throw T-Rex in the mix as well. It's a Red Bear brawl, if you will, so going to be fun to watch for sure. As I believe we saw Ryder Lafferty making his way through. Lafferty in that 17th spot, so you can tell 12th, 16th, and 17th on the overall charts really got some distance between them now here at the 5-mile mark.
And shout out to Gavin Simon all the way up now to that
climbing.
13th spot in the overall. JoJo Cunningham second in that 258 class and 15th overall. And back there in the number 18 spot, Chase Landers, again, hometown race, hometown boy, 3rd place in that 258 class and 3rd in our overall amateur podium running order.
So hanging tough here at the FMF PowerPoint. Little bit of gap now after that top 17 have made their way through on adjusted time.
And as we watch the riders make their way through, you see some of the riders, just like we saw on the left-hand side of your screen, taking that line over there, and it sends you straight for that tree. I wonder what the thought process is there.
Yep, I think the same thing. And I say that with some of our top XC1 guys as well. The way they're able to create lines and see opportunities is now we see, looks like that's Jack Walker making his way through. And couldn't quite tell who he's got right around.
Brody Johnson.
Okay.
So that would be the battle for 5th place in that XC2 Pro Lights class. And then Evan Smith coming in, changing that front brake system, but still solidly up inside the top 20 in the number 19.
Look at that.
JoJo Cunningham gotten around Gavin Simon. They're actually wheel to wheel. These guys battling for top amateurs.
Oh, man, Simon losing some traction there. If he wouldn't have, he would have definitely been able to get side by side with him, just about there.
Yeah, and JoJo was 7 seconds behind at the finish line about 5 miles ago, so he was able to make up that small gap, get around, and start to try to pull away if he can. But Gavin Simon trying to match him there and not let him get away. On screen is your overall, we believe, but definitely your physical overall leader. It looks like he may have done enough as of our last camera shot to wrestle back away that lead on corrected time from Grant Davis, who had been holding on to it.
And another thing we've heard a lot on the podiums is flow. And the riders talking about if they can find the flow out here, they really start to enjoy this track as well. Ben Kelly doubling a couple of rocks there, Jackson. Picks the front wheel up going over a section right after. Really seems like Ben, he's pushing the pace, but he's not out of his comfort zone.
Absolutely beautiful there in that section. Going to see him once again now here at the mile 9. A little bit shorter track today. I don't know if we've talked about that, but a little bit shorter track than what we have at most of our races here. So going to be pretty close to the finish line here. Not too much farther to go as we see Ben Kelly working his way through some lap riders. Man, having a lot of lap riders to deal with here in this one.
Yeah, just we talk about catching them in groups, 4 or 5 of them, just in front of them, only so many lines you can take. But Ben doing a great job of sacrificing half a second so it doesn't cost him an entire position. This guy is extremely patient, extremely intelligent out there, even in the heat of battle. And it's paying off for him right now as he got through those lappers. And now we see the 557 of Caleb Russell start to come into the frame.
So it was 29:35. For Ben Kelly around this tree that's coming up here. About 20 plus another 25, so about 45 seconds is the gap back to Caleb Russell. So it was 25 seconds less than a lap ago. Ben Kelly has stretched, and we are told that Grant Davis should be coming by here soon and has, in fact, conceded enough time that Ben Kelly is now your overall leader. Here comes Craig DeLong.
And now going to take a look for Grant Davis. He was just right here.
Long coming together with a lapper, giving him, please excuse me. And Davis
through.
We thought we saw a little fight coming back to Davis in that last camera shot. Looked like he was back on the charge trying to get around Craig. But at this point, Johnny, you're the expert here in the booth. Kind of looks like he's just using Craig to keep him in sight. I don't quite see the forward drive that we've had out of Grant all day long.
No, we don't, and we'll see what the lap times show here this lap. Here comes Liam Draper, but yeah, I don't know. He's still close enough. He's definitely in the mix. We're being told by OPAG, our producer Adam Gordon, that it's about 1:15 with a 1:09 advantage to Grant Davis. So you're looking at about a 6-second gap from that overall lead that he's only got to make up. Look at this. We've had a pass for second place in XC2. It is now Cody Barnes has gotten around Gus Reardon. And those two looking like they're, again, a little bit closer than they were to Grant Davis last lap. So those are the riders on the move. They've still got a good ways to go to make up that gap, to battle for the lead. But nonetheless, I think that's going to come into play with Davis. If he starts feeling pressure from behind and he picks up the pace, we could see him start to claw back that 6-second deficit that he does have to Kelly on this final lap of racing.
Back to our Yamaha Racing live drone, watching Ben Kelly once again as he makes his way around a few riders. And you can see the dust here starting to stir up just a bit from this live drone shot.
Kelly up on the pegs, always got such good form on the bike, even as tired as these guys get, wheel-to-wheel battles, the technique really impressive to watch how strict these guys' forms are all the way through those 3-hour-long races. And especially in conditions like this, we talked about how quickly, a rock you didn't see or something like that can reach up and grab you. I mean, go back to that close call Ben had just a few minutes ago. If he hadn't have been holding on with his legs and really been locked in, he could have easily found himself on the ground and potentially hurt as well.
Yeah, no doubt. So still seeing him here on this Yamaha Racing live drone. We're not going to be far now. We're coming in for another lap complete. Going to be interesting to see what these splits are going to be here this time through.
And this will be a white flag waving in the hands of Ricky Towery, meaning only one more lap around this racetrack. I think these guys are going to be very, very happy to see the end of this one here today, as we're going to be approaching that 3-hour mark. This one will go the full distance. It'll be just bit short, maybe about 4 minutes or so short of the full 3-hour distance. Actually, maybe less than that.
Might be. Yeah.
Maybe about a minute, and depending on how much it speeds up or slows down. Lapped riders very much in the mix right now, but Ben Kelly having about 45 seconds physically and about 6 seconds from our last camera on corrected time. We'll see what it is when he checks in with our live transponder scoring here in just a moment.
So watching, this is the last little short shoot just before the finish line. And Kelly making his way around, and there it is, Ricky Towery, the True North of GNCC, as always, waving the white flag. 1 to go, Jackson. Ben Kelly tried to bring it home.
So that lap, almost 30 seconds slower than the previous lap. Wow. 24 seconds slower is what it was. 25:33 the previous lap and 25:57. I do anticipate, though, that he may be the only rider we see in those 25s. With the way the pace has slowed down, with all the lapped riders obviously getting deep into this one, he may still have the fastest lap because he was absolutely on a mission the lap before with that 25:33. You can see just how many lapped riders coming by now.
Now here at this shot, we're going to see if we can catch a glimpse here of Caleb Russell, our second place physically out on the track, and here he is just now making his way into that chute right before the finish, and he's going to take the white flag. Russell going to know it is time to put on the gas if he wants to get up there to Ben Kelly.
And the gap is 48 seconds. And again, 26:11 for Caleb Russell, not able to dip into the 25s that lap. But he's been kind of consistent there between 26:01, 26:06, kind of running right around that pace. Ben Kelly with a 25:57. We'll see. The riders, I think, maybe to watch lap times on this lap might be Cody Barnes. He's really been on a mission. Has he been able to do enough to get any closer to Grant Davis? We'll wait and see when Grant checks in here. Does he still have the overall lead? We think he has relinquished it by somewhere around the neighborhood of 6 seconds, and he should be coming through just about any moment.
All right, taking a look here.
Grant Davis has given up the overall lead. Ben Kelly has it, and he has it by 14 seconds.
Wow.
So it continues to grow. The lap time for Grant Davis that lap, 26:36 to Ben Kelly's 25:57. So 39 seconds quicker for Ben Kelly.
Yeah, there would have to be a drastic change now in order for this one to be changed back around. Grant Davis starting to drop through the ranks. Now the question on my mind is Russell going to be able to close up any of that time from Grant?
I'm looking to see, we should see our XC2 number 2 and 3 checking in with Reardon and Barnes any moment now. And will they be able to jump back over Craig DeLong, Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell in the overall? We know they're not going to get past Ben Kelly, but could they get up to the 3 and 4 spots? They have checked in, and no. Reardon back around Barnes, but only able to maintain 5th place overall. So Caleb Russell and Ricky Russell both putting in quick enough laps to get themselves to 3rd and 4th place overall after the time correction.
And what we've been used to up until recently is something like this happening where the XC1 starts picking them off as they go into these later laps, and I believe that's what we're starting to see here.
And if we look at those time gaps, now Grant Davis actually only having a 34-second gap over Caleb Russell and only 40 seconds over Ricky Russell. So that may come into play as well if those guys are able to. That's still a big time chunk, but you got to look last lap. Obviously, Ben Kelly able to be over 30 seconds faster than Grant Davis on that previous lap.
Yeah, and like we said, Kelly doesn't look like he's pushing the envelope, kind of just feeling the flow. He did have that one close call, but these guys, they ride the razor edge and they get used to it, it seems like. And Kelly, as we have him on our Yamaha Racing live drone, really impressive. Our last lap times up on the chart. And just like you said, Johnny, Ben Kelly, the only rider still hanging out in the 25s.
There you go. Everybody else putting in a valiant effort, but you can see Cody Barnes and Angus Reardon slowing down a little bit that last lap. And a good lap for Craig DeLong. Look at him at 26:06, second fastest rider on track.
Russell going to be 25 seconds that time over Davis.
Yep, and he's got about 34 to make up to get that second place overall. And Ricky Russell with about 40 seconds to make up to get Grant Davis in the overall.
So it's not over yet. Russell still has a chance. If he can do that again, Grant Davis turns a similar lap time. If he can add just a little bit more to it, we'll see those positions swapped as we continue to watch Ben here on our Yamaha Racing live drone making his way through the woods.
One thing I think did help Grant Davis last lap, like we pointed out, we wondered kind of why he wasn't maybe able to stay on the back of Craig DeLong. Well, Craig DeLong putting in an absolute heater.
Yeah.
Second fastest rider on the track. So he was kind of getting towed along. It looks like now Craig DeLong has gotten far enough out of sight from, or at the edge of his sight from Grant Davis. That may not work to his advantage any longer. He's going to have to really push to try to get back to the rear wheel of DeLong to get that tow, or just find the pace himself that he had earlier in the race. Fastest rider on track, was absolutely shredding out there, but so after that crash that we saw on screen, he's just been giving up time with every passing mile.
Well, and great, like we said, an incredible lap there from Craig DeLong, but it still wasn't close to Ben Kelly's right now. Yeah. So even if he could match the pace of Craig DeLong, he's going to need a little bit more than that if he wants to start to take back closer to the overall lead.
Yep. Yeah, still Craig DeLong, second fastest rider on the track, still 9 seconds slower than Ben Kelly, who did have the fastest lap.
And here we go, Caleb Russell now on screen along with Ricky Russell just behind him.
There we go. So this is the battle for our podium positions in XC1, and looking like it may turn out to be a battle for a podium position overall as they run. They are currently sitting in the number 3 and 4 spots overall. So one of these guys, as it stands right now, will be bumped off the podium by Grant Davis unless they can pick up the pace in the neighborhood of about 30 seconds to gain back even more time on the number 1 of Grant Davis. And then here comes Craig DeLong, and now Grant Davis back to the rear wheel of DeLong, so that is definitely going to help him keep that pace.
This one definitely not over yet. Still anything possible here in this one as we go into this final lap. So far, 2 hours and 40 minutes into this one. That's a long time to be out there racing your dirt bike.
Ooh, that's a long time to do anything, let alone was actually talking to Liam Draper. We're going to still try to get this heart rate information that he put out on social media and incorporate it in right on cue into the Racer TV broadcast. Absolutely incredible. He put it out there, him working with Zach Osborne there, and man, just absolutely incredible. I want to say it was 160s. I'll see if I can find it here. For essentially 3 hours, the average heart rate. Max heart rate like 192 or something like that. Casually, Johnny. It's just casual.
Yeah. Here we see Josh Strang. Now, hey, there you go. He's gotten around Cody Barnes and gotten around Gus Reardon. And he's actually pulled away from them. There is Reardon, there's Barnes. You can never, when you see one, you know you're going to see the other. That is the battle over second and third place in the XC2 class. But to your point earlier, Zach, it looked like Josh Strang was starting to carry some pace, and the old dog still got some fight in him, getting around the young bucks and chasing after, obviously, Liam Draper up there ahead of him and Craig DeLong as well.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, after his son got multiple podiums, Maverick Strang been doing a great job there on not only the Stasic race, but in his micro races as well. I do have that statistic pulled up from Liam Draper. 3 hours and 14 minutes roughly the time he was tracking his heart rate. The average heart rate, 178 beats per minute. The average heart rate, the max heart rate, 199. Yep. So these guys pushing the pace. If you haven't already, go check out Torque Fit. That's TORQF1T. They've got all the heart rate information from Liam's last race. It blew my mind. I'd love to see and show it to a doctor and see what he has to say.
They're not happy about it.
Yeah, they're like, this isn't possible. They think it's fake.
Yep. Yeah, so we mentioned 3 hours, a long time to be racing your dirt bike. We actually got to talk to our leader about just that. We'll see if we can grab that interview.
Yeah, the third hour is really tough, those last 2 laps. Usually not much is going through my mind. If something's going through my mind, then I'm not focused enough or I'm not trying hard enough. Try to just focus on the track and push as hard as you can. Every race scenario is different. Whether, depending on what place you're in, how you're feeling, how you're gelling with the track. So it all depends on, you got to use your racecraft and the things you've learned over the years. But yeah, that third hour is crunch time. You just need to grit your teeth, and you're going to be tired, you're going to be sore, the track's going to be destroyed. But yeah, you just got to stay in it, stay focused, and go as fast as you can.
And he's doing right now exactly what he said he would, as he's up front in the pack and continuing to turn the fastest lap time up there in no man's land.
Yeah, pushing the pace and just kind of self-motivated, knowing obviously the information being passed along, but even looking at things, as it stands right now, looking at the elapsed time, about 14 seconds is the lead that he has. That's not a huge margin. It's not by not any means a comfortable gap. And the fact that he can't see Grant Davis, if you had 14 seconds on a guy that you were racing physically, might feel a little bit better about it and say, okay, I can see him back there. But the fact that he can't see him. He'll go miles in between pit boards. He's going to keep pushing that pace. He knows that those 5 bonus points for winning a race are what he's after today to continue to extend what is already a 6-point gap over that rider, Grant Davis. So I don't think we're going to see him let up at all, and he's showing that on screen, just continuing to push.
One of the things I thought was interesting as we take a look at Caleb Russell there, still in that number 2 position. Ben talked about, if I'm thinking about too much, I'm not doing my job right. It's a mixture of you're thinking about everything but thinking about nothing at the same time.
Yep, and here we see Craig DeLong, and there is Grant Davis. So don't know if we'll be able to have OPAG go back, take a look at that, see what the gap is. We know we're working with 1 minute 9 seconds is the time correction. There was an additional 14 seconds advantage for Ben Kelly when they checked in live timing and scoring at the end of lap number 6. But Grant Davis, we do know he is chasing the rider that was the second fastest rider on track last lap, Craig DeLong, putting in a push late in the race. But I also think it looks like that battle between Caleb Russell and Ricky Russell heating up, those two starting to push the pace, and Liam Draper lurking back there trying to capitalize on potentially a top 5 if he can get up a little bit closer to those guys here at the end of this final lap of racing.
4 riders making their way through.
Strang. And then this should be the battle for second and third in XC2. And again, a position change. Cody Barnes has gotten around. And for the first time in a couple laps, we don't see Gus Reardon right on his rear wheel, but he's not too far behind. Don't fret. He can still see him there.
So Strang has been able to make his way around, I do believe.
Yep, Strang gotten around both of those XC2 riders, and then another flip-flop between the Barnes-Reardon duo. And there you see the Phoenix Racing Honda making his way through, and that might be the biggest gap we've seen between the two of them all race long.
Well, actually, earlier in the race, Gus was much closer to Grant, but then the last couple laps, yes, you're exactly right. Cody's been stalking Gus, been right on his rear wheel. Seldom have we seen him in front, and the few times we did, it was just for a moment. But since those two got together, that's definitely the biggest gap we've seen between the two of them. Man, it's late in this one. We talked about it. This one is going to go near the full 3-hour duration, and here comes your leader on screen, checking off mile markers. 4 down and about 6 more to go until he will see a checkered flag waving. And the finish line of this one, which I'm sure he will be welcoming, especially once he finds out that as of right now, he's done enough. He's been able to wrestle back that overall lead away from his teammate, Grant Davis.
Now, if you're in this situation, Johnny, let's put ourselves in the 2 helmets of Ben Kelly and Grant Davis. Kelly, I'm sure getting told, hey, you've got a couple of seconds to play with. Is he pushing the pace, or is he just trying to maintain what he's got and letting Grant do all the work of trying to make up those extra seconds? Or is Ben still saying, it's not enough, I'm not comfortable enough?
I think Ben's a very high IQ racer. I think he kind of has a sense of how fast he can go safely. We haven't seen him really make any big mistakes. We saw the one miscue where he got the huckabuck, but that's racing. I think at this point, he's pushing as hard as he can without putting himself in a position where he feels like he's going to hit the deck. You don't want to do that, especially late in a race like this. Oh, look at this. Caleb Russell's now opened up a gap over Ricky Russell. Yeah, that's the biggest gap we've seen between those two in about a lap and a half. But I don't think that Ben is on a mission by any means to try to sprint, but I think he's going absolutely as fast as he can without throwing it away, and he's going to make Grant Davis do the work. He's also probably getting pit boards, letting him know that as of right now, he's done enough. He's got the position. Grant Davis, to me, his body language doesn't really say that he's trying to push any harder to get around Craig DeLong. I think he's accepting the tow. Don't know if it's just something that maybe he knocked a rye with the bike when he crashed, or starting to get a little fatigued, but he doesn't seem to have the same sense of intensity that he did a little bit earlier in the race. Still very close though. 14 seconds, I mean, that can change so quickly. Just yesterday we saw a near 1 minute gap on the final lap of racing shrink down to 12 seconds in a matter of a few miles just because of lapped riders. So this one far from over, but right now I do believe that Ben Kelly, the ball is in his court.
Interested to see Ben Kelly. This was the moment a lap ago where we saw Ben get that little huckabuck, taking a different line than I've seen him take all race long, Jackson. He's usually over on the far right side, the left-hand side of your screen. This time, pretty much the complete opposite. Still had a couple of coast claws, didn't touch the foot to the ground, but had to take it off the peg. But nonetheless, Ben Kelly continuing to adapt to this Old Gray race course even on the final lap.
Well, and staying away from that little spot that gave him a huckabuck.
Why risk it?
Yeah, never. If you take a bad line once, that happens. If you take it twice, not that it was a bad line, but it turned out bad. If you take it twice, shame on you. You got to learn from your mistakes.
Here we go. Caleb Russell back on screen now on the 5.57. And continuing to open up that gap back to Ricky Russell in the third place position, physically out on the course.
Still, I mean, this is a great ride for Ricky Russell. Putting himself in a position, depending on how things shake out with Reardon and Barnes, he and Caleb Russell are basically fighting over potentially third overall.
And a fight indeed. Now seeing Craig DeLong back on screen. And Grant Davis continuing to tow just behind him there. And this one's going to come down to the stopwatch, no doubt.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but to me, on screen, Grant Davis does not look like he has the same intensity, the same push that he had earlier in the race. I think he's still doing all he can to try to give himself a chance at that overall victory, but I don't think he's got the stuff to just grab a handful of throttle and go after it right now. Something is off enough, whether it's him or the bike, that he's just kind of riding it in, and second overall riding it in, that's nothing to shake a stick at. Liam Draper on screen. The battle has been fast and furious all day long. Obviously, Grant Davis leading the way throughout much of it, getting a little kick, costing himself a little bit of time there. And then since then, it's been a mistake for Davis, allowing Ben Kelly to get some momentum. Russell back away the overall position. He's starting to stretch it out. Caleb Russell giving chase about 45 seconds back, and it's been a battle. Can Grant Davis get it done, or will Ben Kelly hang on for the win here today at the Old Gray?
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda Tires. Delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda Tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
And welcome back, GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. All good, dude, all good. We're down to the nitty-gritty in this one. There goes the 3-4-2, Craig DeLong, and there is Grant Davis still in tow. Different line choice right there for Davis. Interesting, Johnny. I heard you guys talking about Grant and some quote-unquote struggles here late.
Hold on. Let me clarify one thing.
That's what I'm saying.
When we say struggles, this young man is still solidly in a second place
that was my point.
Position and leading the way in XC2. This is a phenomenal ride. It's only that he set the bar so high.
That's what I was
earlier
getting
in
at.
The race. Was physically ahead of Ben Kelly.
Well, not just this race. I mean, going into last season, we've talked about it till we're blue in the face, but it is insane to me that here we are, round 5, 2025, and we're talking about the struggles legitimately by Grant Davis, but he's still in second. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. If this was 3 years ago, we would talk about how well he's doing here late. But because of what we've seen from Grant Davis, yeah, maybe some struggles. There is Josh String, the number 7. Pretty good day for Josh overall.
Very good day. And now Cody Barnes is that not Gus Reardon. So now Cody Barnes has essentially broken Gus Reardon. He had made the pass, had a little bit of a gap, and now that gap stretching out. He has got a much, much bigger gap over still Gus Reardon. That's a big shakeup. That's not a time loss. Something has happened here for sure. Yeah,
there he is.
He is still moving, but he definitely had a crash or something set him back because that was a big time loss in only a mile of racetrack.
So Cody Barnes going to inherit that number 2 spot.
Well, he had already taken it away.
Oh, that's true. That you are correct.
But he
gets some breathing room. How about
definitely some breathing room for sure. Those two, it seems like every time we see them on camera in 2025, it's you just finish saying the one's name and the other one comes around the corner. they've just been glued to each other.
So Ben Kelly in control in this one, and speaking of breathing room, getting that between him and Grant Davis, who's sitting in that 2 spot. Caleb in 3rd for the OA, 2nd in the XC1, and Ricky Russell, cannot say enough about him today, Johnny, on the Triumph.
Yeah, and in that last camera shot, Ricky Russell still, although he had given up a little bit of time, he was still in the mix and, within striking distance of Caleb Russell to try to wrestle away that final podium position and the 2nd place spot in XC1.
As we get close to it, again, it's not over till it's over, till we see the checkered flag fly. But Ben Kelly going to be the first guy this season to repeat win, to have 2 wins under his belt. Until then, it was just 4 different winners in 4 different rounds. You could say this is a pivotal race. And now, I think without a doubt, Ben Kelly has that target on his back, and I think it's safe to say he might be the favorite to win in 2025. Still very, very early, but now he is certainly the man to beat.
Well, I think there was a lot of hype on a lot of riders coming into 2025, and I think Ben was kind of overlooked when people started talking about, it's going to be, Caleb Russell's coming back, Johnny Girard's the defending champion, Grant Davis could win it from XC2. Everybody kept talking about those 3 and everybody throwing Stu in the mix, and nobody was talking about Ben Kelly. I'm thinking to myself, if Ben Kelly is healthy and gaining momentum like he was at the end of 2024, the fact that people aren't throwing him in the mix to win races and be in championship contention is insanity. And he's proving just that right now. But on screen, leading the way, there is Ben Kelly clicking off mile markers. You can see nice wheelie, great bike skills. And, I think right now what we're seeing is obviously Grant Davis leading the points throughout after taking over the points lead at round 2, leading the points through round 2 and 3, then Ben Kelly taking it away at round 4 and looking like he's going to further extend that here today. You've got guys like Johnny Girard that definitely have not started off the season like anyone expected. Caleb Russell hadn't been as strong, other than Florida, the first few rounds as many people were expecting to see. So Ben Kelly just kind of flying under the radar the first couple of rounds, and then now that he's got the momentum and the confidence, he's starting to click off wins, and that is a dangerous Ben Kelly when that starts happening.
Yeah, very, very much. Riders certainly can do a lot of damage with some confidence, and I think that's what is building for Ben Kelly.
Ricky Russell has gotten around Caleb Russell and up to the number 2 spot. So that was a change.
Little look over the shoulder, so I'm thinking Caleb maybe not too far behind, and he's not. There he is, the 557 AM Pro Yamaha of Caleb Russell now into that number 3 spot, and in a major sense of urgency. Little dab right there. Looked like a good save as we pan back. Ricky Russell, if he can hang on for this podium, especially in a 2 spot for the XC1, as far as that is concerned, this is going to be an absolute excited, I hope, Ricky Russell. A guy who's had a few different rides over the last few years and had his own share of struggles as far as injuries are concerned. But this is what we were used to seeing out of Ricky Russell just a few years ago.
Yeah, he's looking good on that Enduro Engineering Triumph machine there. Finally on that 450 after riding the first couple rounds on the 250. And he is now sitting in the number 2 spot physically. Don't think he's got enough of a gap on Grant Davis to wrestle away that position overall, but still putting himself on the overall podium in the number 3 spot as they run right now with Caleb Russell just behind him. And here comes Craig DeLong, so that is 4th in XC1 and 5th on corrected time. Maybe we don't know where Cody Barnes is going to stack in there. We do know that Reardon has lost some time. So has Craig DeLong done enough? And he has actually started to open it up a little bit again over Grant Davis, who is still just a couple bike lengths behind him there.
Watching those guys roll through. Hey, there's Austin Woodrum. Good to see you, buddy. Getting some shots. And this one going to go right above that, probably 3-hour mark here today.
Yep, and there is Barnes. So that is your 2nd place rider in XC2 coming by at the 8-mile marker with just a little bit over 2 miles to go until he will see a checkered flag waving. And he has opened up a sizable gap over the 3rd place rider of Gus Reardon. Josh Strang in the number 6 spot in... Sorry, 5. Oh, there. No, yeah, he is in 6, and he is caught. I noticed that last camera shot. He had made up a lot of time on Liam Draper, and now he's almost to the rear wheel. So that is 5th and 6th as they run in the XC1 class.
Tough day for Liam Draper. hung in there in that top 10, but just never really quite got it going with those front guys after coming off, second place just a couple of weeks ago. But the story's been about Ben Kelly, man. It did not have the best start. I know Zach was mentioned it earlier, just judging off the start that Ben got, thought maybe it'd be a long day for him, but once Ben found his way up front, it has been the Ben Kelly show.
Yeah, and now really nothing standing between him and the finish line except for a couple of field sections, one little section of woods, and he's looking great, looking like he is going to notch his second win both in the XC1 class and overall. Well, actually, his third XC1 win and second overall win of 2025, further extending what was already a 6-point lead in the overall point standings.
And for Ben, he's done it both ways. He's had a race win out of the XC1 class where it was a good day from start to finish. And today I think he showed, hey, yeah, good start, great, but doesn't always make or break your day. He had to work his way through the pack in this one. So versatile riding by Ben Kelly to get the job done.
Yeah, he's looked smooth, especially the last 4 laps. The first 2 laps kind of seemingly struggling maybe to get his flow, definitely further back than we'd expected to see him, and then suddenly he started stirring, making time, making ground, making passes, and he's really just controlled the race these last 4 races. He is still pushing for every second, though.
Yeah,
he doesn't
might need to with the lap traffic.
He doesn't want to leave anything to chance. He knows Grant Davis is back there. I'm sure he's gotten pit boards, but he's done enough at this point that we will wait, and we will wait for Grant Davis to cross the finish line. But Ben Kelly seemingly has done enough to secure himself an overall victory today here at the Old Gray GNCC. 2 wins in a row for King Kelly. 5:30 machine across the line, grabbing the win, checkered flag waving. You can see him taking a look over his shoulder, and they're going to start the clock now and determine for certain if he has done enough. But based off what we saw in our last camera shot, he has done more than enough.
Yeah, I think Ben's going to be safe on this one. You could see the little look over the shoulder, wants to make sure. But, boy, Ben Kelly just absolutely
look at this battle.
Great ride. And here we go.
Caleb Russell's gotten back around Ricky Russell.
So this is going to be your battle for the number 2 spot in the XC1 and possibly the number 3 spot in the OA. And right now that favors the 557 AM Pro Yamaha of Ricky Russell. Courses around the lap traffic on the Kawasaki. And let's see if Ricky Russell has anything for Caleb here late. I think Caleb's going to be safe. Gets a little bit of a gap. Ooh, a little small mistake. Little slide out right there by Ricky. And Caleb hangs on for second place in the XC1, and Ricky Russell will check in third for the XC1. And now we wait.
So 54 seconds, the margin of victory for Ben Kelly over Caleb Russell, and a difference of 2.1 seconds back to Ricky Russell in the number 3 spot. A great battle between the Russell boys.
That's cool.
Now we'll wait and watch for Craig DeLong on that 342 Rockstar Husqvarna and the green number 1 of Grant Davis. We think Ben Kelly has done enough, but these guys should be coming here in a matter of just a few seconds. And just like that on screen, Craig DeLong going to come across 4th place in that XC1 class. Grant Davis definitely going to win our XC2 class. Refresh, Mikey.
Here we go. Grant checks in. That'll be a P1 in the XC2 class. Let's see, Johnny. Second OA. So Ben Kelly hangs on for the overall win. And Grant Davis, I'm going to say with air quotes, settles for second place in the OA. But that's a young man, I think, who left it all out on the track again. We sound redundant, just keep saying that, talking to his mechanic, Andy. That guy can build a bike. There's no doubt about that. Just got a word from Jackson and Zach Herron. Sounds like Caleb Russell went right back to the AmPro pits. Don't want to speculate there. We'll see if we can get an interview with him.
It sounds like he's saying, we got to ride the rocks. We got to ride the rocks. Maybe
in preparation for.
Yeah, maybe not happy with his. We'll let him talk about it.
Yeah.
In the post race interview. Get the win in XC2, second place on the overall, and man, what a battle.
Yeah, great day of racing. Ben Kelly just kind of, I think, solidifying himself as the man to beat this season. Certainly out of the XC1, and Grant Davis just continues to linger and stay in that conversation with a heck of a fight here today. And if the guys, if Zach or Jackson can hear us, I think Jackson will probably have the interview with Grant, man. If you can, ask him about that, the comments he made about we got to ride the rocks. Is that in preparation as we start to head further up north and we get into some more terrain similar to what we have here in Tennessee?
All right, Cody Barnes has checked in. 5th place overall for him today. He does displace Craig DeLong, pushing him back 1 position. Still waiting on Gus Reardon to check in. But there we go. So that is your top 5 overall, top 6, 7, 8 overall now checked in. We do think Reardon may slot in there somewhere, but the top 5 for sure are set. It's Ben Kelly, Grant Davis, Caleb Russell, Ricky Russell, and Cody Barnes rounding out the top 5, followed by Craig DeLong, Liam Draper, Josh Strang, and we will wait for Gus Reardon to check in and see where he does. Still has not checked in. But we do have our top 2 in XC2 checked in, and it sounds like we are ready with today's race winner, Ben Kelly.
All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, down here with Ben Kelly and talking about a couple of those close calls, but nonetheless, he comes out victorious, not only in the XC1 class, but in the overall as well. Man, it's got to feel good.
Yeah, that was gnarly. Dude, I just had my finger resting too much on the start button, so I started it early and had to shut it off, and so I had a crappy start, and I knew that they were going to stop me, so I was like back of the pack, made a couple passes that first lap. Come around seeing the black flag, I'm like, damn, and I just pull over and I'm like cursing and swearing, and the guy's just like, I know, but 15 seconds went, and yeah, I was way back, like a minute plus, and Grant Davis and Gus Reardon both passed me XC2, and those guys have been fighting for overall, so I knew it was going to be gnarly. I was going to have to pass them, work through the pack, and pull a minute on them, so yeah, I just kept fighting all day. I feel like, my bike was pretty good on part of the track through the rocks, but then it was a little too soft in others and had a few sketchy moments. But I think as the track got rougher throughout the day, it started to get a little bit better, and I just figured out how to ride it. And, I just stayed strong, kept fighting. A few sketchy moments out there. Hard not to. Trying to just carry momentum and make up time, but yeah, overall came away with the win, and I'm pumped.
Got the job done. Like we said, we caught one of those sketchy moments on camera, but the rest of the time it was that mixture of you're clearly pushing the pace, but you did kind of seem comfortable. Felt like you were having a flow. We saw you doubling some rocks here and there. Overall, comfort-wise, we felt like we were in a good spot.
Yeah, I was good. Just a few times when I would get a little too aggressive, like I said, I would go a little too deep in the stroke and it would rebound me weird, but it's kind of just this track. Like, I felt good, I felt in a flow and was like in control the whole time, but next thing you know, like, you hit a huge square edge rock that you literally can't avoid, so it's it's kind of rolling the dice whether you're going to roll over it smooth or get a kick, but I definitely wasn't the only one out there struggling, I'm sure.
Well, I know you're a race-to-race guy, but another win, more points on the board. We got to be feeling good about 2025 as a whole and the momentum you've got behind you.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Back-to-back wins is awesome. 2 completely different types of conditions, and I'm pumped. I got to keep beating Grant Davis because I know he wants it bad, and he's young, and he's fast, and he's fit, so yeah, it's good. I'll just keep going.
Hey, Ben Kelly getting the job done. Your XC1 and overall winner here at the Old Gray.
I like it. Focused. I mean, Ben's always kind of been a humble guy, in my opinion, and handles himself very professionally, and just, another day at the office for Ben.
Yeah, you can tell he's genuinely enthused, though, for that win. At some point, these guys start to win so much or win so often, they kind of not take it for granted, but they don't take the joy in it. You can see by the smile on his face, he was genuinely happy to work his way through the challenges at the beginning of the race and come back and grab the win. I believe we have Jackson Burrell standing by with our second place overall and XC2 winner, Grant Davis.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Grant Davis. Grant, man, quite the ride you had going earlier in this one. We saw you go down, and then it seemed like things just started to fall off from there. Take us through what happened here.
Yeah, I made a wrong call on my bike choice. I got to get better in the rocks, and other than that, Ben gave it to me today. I should have been me, but he rode good today, and he killed it, and I'm still glad for second overall and staying there in points. But other than that, I'm still happy with my day.
Yeah, well, congratulations on today's finish. Mikey Maines wanted me to ask you, he heard you tell Andy, your mechanic, that you needed to train more in the rocks. Is that in general, or is that just when we're heading into the next few rounds?
Well, I know I'm good in the rocks. I just got to get some suspension done a little bit better in the rocks. I'm struggling with my front end a little bit in them, but other than that, when I get that figured out, I should be up there.
Grant, are you leaving here healthy?
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's Grant Davis.
Well, there you go. So, Grant, confidence, man. That confidence, he does not lack it at all. I love to see it, man. And even Ben mentioned it, just how eager he knows Grant is, and he's young. Those young guys, Johnny, sometimes willing to do the things that maybe once you get a little older you think twice about.
Well, I think two things to take away from Grant's interview there. The frustration, maybe that he had it in his grasp and let it slip away, but at the same time, the realization that, second place overall, I'm happy with that.
Yep.
He's staying in the championship fight. If you can't win, second is the next best place to be. 25 points on the day, continuing to keep himself right in the thick of that championship hunt, and ultimately grabbing that XC1, XC2 overall win here today. So.
So congratulations to him, and I think Jackson Burrell's standing by with, Ricky Russell.
Yeah, guys, I'm down here with Ricky Russell. Ricky, you're just off the overall podium, but you're third in XC1 here today. Take us through your race day.
I hate hearing that just off the overall podium because I had it with about a half mile to go, and some lappers screwed me up, and Caleb snuck by for that final overall spot. So that's bummer, but man, it's a huge improvement from where I've been. So I got to take the positives and just go with it because I haven't been this close to the podium for a while. So at least still XC1 podium.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the third place. How's this Triumph machine treating you now that you're on the big 450?
It's good. It's good. This track was epic conditions, a little bit of dust, a little bit of mud, kind of just had it all. And man, this thing's a tractor. It was gripping and ripping, and I felt good. I got a terrible start, same with BK, and we just kind of moved forward, and before I knew it, we were battling for the podium. So very happy with how it's working. We've only been riding it for a couple weeks now, and it's suiting my style. So loving it.
All right, how you feel going into round 6?
Feel good. I just want to build off this and hopefully improve a little bit more. Gotta keep that dang Grant Davis behind us. He's just been killing it in the XC2. He catches us so quick, and he just gets us on adjusted time even if he's behind us. So I just need to push a little harder sooner and get up there, get a good start, and just be up front early.
All right, there you go, guys. That's Ricky Russell.
Well, huge congratulations to Ricky, and I loved the perspective. Love to hear it, but also don't love hearing just off of the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, actually, it sounds like we may have one more interview here. Our second place in XC1 and third place overall finisher. Sounds like we have an interview with Caleb Russell.
Yeah, we sure do. I'm down here with Caleb Russell now. Caleb, third place overall today. Take us through your day.
It was, I don't know, it was kind of chaotic there for a little bit. I got gobbled up pretty good on the start. It was super slick and sliding around in the field. But honestly, it was all kind of a blur. I know Ben was right next to me. I knew he started his bike early, and I knew that was going to cost him right there. So I just tried to I got super tight again the first lap and a half, 2 laps, and I couldn't really. Grant Baylor was kind of got us separated there from the top 3 or 4, whoever was out up front. And once I kind of got him, Ricky, I think, got around me, and we kind of yo-yoed there for a little bit. And yeah, it was just a pretty average day for me. I feel like I wasn't really that great. I wasn't really that bad. I was just kind of in it. And we got, the team's been working. We've, this is a complete 360 from Camp Coker. I was much better on the bike. I'm getting more comfortable, and man, I had a real hard time putting the whole track together. I was really good in parts and not so good in other parts, and you got to be good everywhere. And freaking Grant, dude, just gobbled us up and gets right there to us, and it's pretty impressive. Hats off to him. It's going fast.
All right, guys, there you heard it. Caleb Russell, your third place overall.
Johnny, that's pretty high praise for young Grant Davis. I think Grant was mentioned by Ben. Grant was mentioned by Ricky. Grant was mentioned by Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the fact he was mentioned by all 3 of those guys and the fact that he finished second overall and is second in points speaks volumes about how strong he is right now. He's riding very, very well.
Young man is not going anywhere. As we take a look at the Specialized race recap, man, tough break for Jordan Ashburn. Stole that hole shot, though. Absolutely impressive right there. Going up and getting it, making the grown man move in front of the home state fans. But Johnny, today, dusty start, by the way. But that first turn, deceivingly slick. And Stu Baylor, and there is Jordan Ashburn in the mix.
Stu Baylor controlled this one at the beginning, at least from the front in terms of physical lead. Grant Davis really controlled this race throughout the first 3 quarters of it on corrected time. You can see there he is actually physically ahead of Ben Kelly early on in the race after Ben being penalized for a quick start. Little bump the button there, but he charges back. Stu Baylor having some troubles. Mike Wachowski having a great ride going, physically leading when he knocked a hole in his engine cases, retired for the day. But then from then on, the story was, can Ben Kelly get back the time? Can Grant Davis claw it back and wrestle it back away? And it was just a back-and-forth seesaw battle all the way to the finish.
Pretty sensational day for those guys. Great day for Grant Davis. And Grant, happy with that XC2 overall win, but wanted the OA outright. Ben Kelly takes it, and he adds to his points lead. We'll look at that in a moment. But again, Ben Kelly, Grant Davis, KR, Caleb Russell, Ricky Russell, and Cody Barnes rounding out the top 5.
Yeah, Craig DeLong there in 6th. Had a really good comeback towards the end of the race.
Yes, he did. And we take a look, Johnny. Johnny, he's fine, folks, I promise. It's a little dusty here today. But again, Johnny, we got it all on Racer TV.
My bad.
Tune in. No, you're fine.
I didn't know we had gone to the camera.
It's okay.
Hello, everybody.
Johnny, that's why we have mute buttons, folks. Oh. But, Johnny, another race where we just continue to talk about Grant Davis. But I think the big thing here, the big takeaway for me was Ben Kelly, I think, solidified himself today as the man to beat. XC1, XC2, I don't care. I feel like this is Ben's season to this point. We have a lot of rounds left, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big things for me today was Ben Kelly, 2 wins in a row, first rider to win 2 overalls and to do it in a row. Both times having to really claw back quite a bit of time on Grant Davis, proving he's capable of doing that week in and week out. It's a big statement for him, and the momentum's definitely in his court now. And then you talk about Grant Davis, the takeaway there is the young man is not going anywhere. We're going to continue to talk about this kid for probably the rest of the season. And not just us. He grabbed the attention of the top 3 guys in XC1. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been riding well all season. He's been consistent. And the points are adding up. He's sitting there in that number 2 spot now. Should be 11 points behind Ben Kelly for that overall championship lead. And then I think another takeaway for me, Caleb Russell much better today. Yeah, very much. On the overall podium, second place in XC1 after admittedly a couple of really, really tough performances for him. He said they're still working on the bike. We'll see what he can do with it. But, he's as frustrated or as, kind of not content with his finish as he seemed. I think he's going to continue to work and try to work his way up into the mix there. Big question mark, I think, is this the Ricky Russell we can expect to see on the new Triumph? That's definitely, I think we saw this from Ricky last race and then ultimately having some issues later on in the race, but he was very much up in the mix throughout the early parts of the Camp Coker race just 2 weeks ago. So I think Ricky Russell on this 450 Triumph is a force as well. And man, just throw a whole bunch more names in there. Stu Baylor leading the way, having some issues. Cody Barnes, great day out of the XC2 as well. Mike Wachowski leading the way, having a mechanic. I mean, there's so many guys that are going fast right now. It's very exciting to see. Well, cannot wait. We're going to take a weekend off, but we've got more racing coming at you. We got the Bagger Racing League round number 1 at Chuckwalla and round number 2 the following day. And then we get back to some GNCC for round number 6. Powerline Park, newer to the schedule, but not a new track. We went there for many, many years, and we're going back. So we'll head over to Ohio there in May. And that is going to wrap things up for us. On behalf of Jackson Burrows, Zach Herron, Johnny Gallagher, our camera operators, Matt, Josh, Adam, Leah, Kirsten, and Mike, the drone pilot, Gabe Scholl, our manager, Dan Reinhart, our second engineer, Jack Renner, engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden, our replay operator, Cameron Cotter, director, Don Hampton, producer, Adam Gordon, and our executive producer, Miss Carrie Jo Russell. I'm Mikey Waynes, and you've been watching Racer TV. You've been watching GNCC on RacerTV.com.